All right. How's it going, everybody?
Howdy, howdy.
Hope everybody is having a good day. I thought maybe we would kind of start out for a second here on hope I am live here. Let me see, my other computer is slow. Oh yeah, we're there. Okay, so everybody can hear us just fine and everything. Put a 5x5 if you can hear us. And wanted to start out by saying hello to everybody in the chat. Miss Prep and Plumber, Adorable Prep, Adorable Deplorable, Ricky, Chicken and Homestead, Virginia, Hutch, Joe Morgan, Cashew, Leslie, hello, Klingon Princess, Professor Falcon, man, look at all you great people in here, man. Yeah, awesome. Bug Dude, Salt Life Sister. I like that Salt Life Sister. That's cool. Laura, Red Tyrant. There's my buddy Red Tyrant. He went on an excursion, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that dang thing, man. That's what I'm talking about. That's freaking awesome. Zane. So real quick, I know we've been having a lot of storms roll through and everything, and I was kind of wondering how everybody has spared in that. If you got any damage, or did each of you, everybody come out well, things like that. I was kind of asking y'all in the chat. I know Ghost was mentioning before we came on. Hey, Emily L. Ghost was mentioning he had just got some storms roll through his way, Beach Army. So just kind of hoping everybody, made it through okay.
How's my volume?
Yeah, I keep hearing something in the background, like a music or something. Both sons have trees down, but nothing bad. Well, good deal. Some minor damage, but nothing terrible. Awesome. Power out for 12 hours. One death. Oh, that's horrible. Didn't hardly do crap here. No storms in my hood. Great deal. Yeah, see it come through here, and man, I'm gonna tell you, it was bowed out, man, on that radar. I mean, I was like, God, we're gonna get some hard winds, man. I was like, dadgum, man, come on, And just like when it got to us, because I'm like up on a hill, but there's a bunch of mountains around me, and it just kind of like split, man. You could see them clouds just rushing this way and rushing that way, and it just kind of split up, man. It's pretty awesome,
Sweet.
Free Handy, how's it going? Lady Casca.
Virginia roots.
Virginia.
Appalachian prepper.
But luckily, it kind of split, and it went hard to the north and to the south of us. And so we got lucky. We did get a little bit of wind, but, just a couple of little small branches down in the yard kind of thing, blew a little bit of trash can over or something, nothing bad. A lot of good lightning, though, man. I got a heck of a lightning show last night.
Hey,
so you said you got some storms a little bit ago, Ghost?
Yeah, they passed through about an hour ago, maybe an hour and a half ago. They passed through some pretty good straight line wind, some hard rain. It lasted about 20-25 minutes. They were calling for hail and wind gusts up to 60 mile an hour. I think we may have hit 35 or 40 mile an hour. No hail. Probably dumped about a good little bit of rain. The rabbits made it. I wrapped them up real good. They made it. So everything's good.
Well, I talked to my cousin today, and he lives northeast of me, and man, I'm gonna tell you what, they got freaking hammered. He works at a lumber yard, kind of a hardware store lumberyard deal, and
Right.
their lumber buildings, I mean, it just wadded them up, man. He said it's bad,
Damn.
and yeah, he said luckily he didn't really get anything at his he didn't get anything really at his house, just power outage, and it looks like they're going to be out for 4 or 5 days, and his generator is not working, and so I fussed at him about that, and told him, why is your generator not working, kind of thing. But it's all good, he's busy, he's like an assistant manager, so man, at that lumber yard, and he has to work a lot of Saturdays, so I told him that I guess he's going to holler at me either tonight or in the morning, and if it looks like the power is going to be out for 3 or 4 days like they're thinking, I'm gonna run my generator up to him, and so he's got a little bit of power in his house, and his food and his freezers don't go bad. So
Yeah.
this is something I wanted to touch on. I mean, we do have a scenario for tonight, of what would we do. We're going to talk about that here in a minute, and I just wanted to bring that up, while this storm is fresh on everybody's minds, this is why we check our preps and make sure everything is working properly. Having all your candles, lanterns, whatever it is you're going to use for backup, for lighting and things like that, to have it all in one place, don't have it all strolled out about the house and not, you're running around in the dark trying to figure out where everything's at, when the storm's approaching, go ahead and get that stuff up and get it ready, and get your lighters out there to light your candles up with, and make sure you've got a good something to set the candles on so they can't get knocked over, or, something happens and you have a fire, that would really be horrible. No power, and then you get a fire, so
Yeah.
that'd be a bad deal,
Here's a good tip for you. A good tip for you guys out there that either have a generator or are thinking about getting a generator or just got a generator. Those things, especially with this bullshit gas they're selling us nowadays with this ethanol shit in it, you need to crank that generator every month on the first of the month, year round, every single year, every single month. Crank it up and let it run for about 5 or 10 minutes. But what you do is when you let it run, turn the gas off. Don't turn the generator off and leave gas in line. Turn the gas off and let the gas run out of the lines. Let it clear out the carburetor. Then shut her down. That way you're not getting gas stagnant in the lines and then the carburetor getting it all gunked up. Another good tip is, and they're dirt cheap, find out what kind of carburetor is on your generator and go ahead and order your replacement, a backup. They only cost like 20 or 30 bucks, and it ain't but 2 bolts to put it in there. They're really, really easy. And have you a backup carburetor. I had my generator in Florida. I had 2 backup carburetors because I ordered one and it didn't come in when it was supposed to. So they sent me a replacement. And then the first one that I ordered came in 2 weeks later. So I had 2 brand new backup carburetors for my Jenny. It cost me $29. So those are good things to have, because usually that's what goes out on us, the carburetor.
Yep. Yeah. If you know how to tear one apart and all that, obviously you can buy the little repair kits for them, a little rebuild kit. You can buy them for 10, 12 bucks, but you do have to have the ability to be able to tear one apart. I do know how to do that. I've fixed the carburetors on my boat before, and so
The
it's
cool thing about the Jenny carbs is they're so easy, man. Just 2 bolts, they pop right off, put a new one on, 2 bolts, hook the hose up, fire it up.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, so we just kind of thought we'd talk about the little bit of storm and stuff, and kind of what to do, and just some reminders and everything. I know all of y'all are out there, been through the storms. Y'all know what to do and everything, but sometimes it's good to have the little reminders, that you don't think about certain things, at certain times, man. And when I knew the storm was coming last night, I went and got my box of candles and got the flashlights. I checked all of them, brightness on the flashlights, and made sure we have them battery powered common lanterns. You seen them?
Yeah,
they're pretty cool. They put out a lot of good light. And just real quick, Prepper Chicken Texas, Grace and Grit. Emily L. I said prep for it. Independent Mini. New York Outcast. Hello, hello. Welcome everybody. And so yeah, I went around and I checked all my stuff, and made sure everything was working correctly. And it don't take 10 minutes, and I can guarantee you it's a whole lot easier to do it while the lights are on than when the lights are out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So especially if the storm's bearing down on you, and it's cracking lightning and god dang stuff's blowing against the house, and so you want to be already set up and ready to go and secure. So
be prepared.
yes sir, yes sir. All right, so tonight we've got a scenario. This is what would we do channel, and so we're going to I'm gonna read this scenario out to everybody, and then we're going to start talking about it. I have invited Hutch on here in a little bit. We're going to kind of go over the scenario and talk about some stuff, and what we would do and what we're thinking, and then we're going to invite Hutch on if he can come on. He said he could, and what we're going to do is that way Hutch can maybe we spark something in his mind that he didn't think about, or he wanted to go over a little more thorough, excuse me, things like that. And that's kind of what we're wanting to do with our what would we do scenarios. The person that sends them in, if you want to, you don't have to, but if you want to, we might try to get you an email, the link, and get you up on here so you can have a chance to maybe we didn't answer something correctly, or forgot about something, but that way it just kind of gives you a chance to. It's better than sitting in chat and trying to type out these questions and we're like, well, what exactly are you meaning, so that's kind of the way we wanted to do it. So I see Hutch is here. Hutch, brother, like I sent you the email. I sent you an email at your Hutch Gmail one.
Hutch Homestead at Gmail.
Yeah, Hutch Homestead channel at Gmail. So here in a little bit, we'll invite you up if you want to be able to, if you want to come up, then you're welcome to. So okay, so on with the scenario. Okay, so on a bike trip, so on a motorcycle, 800 miles from home, I have a mechanical failure and I am left with a non-functional vehicle. I am stuck on the border of a city that has been burning for 5 days. And all I have is my bug out bag, with 4 sets of clothes, one week worth of food, 400 in cash, and my only weapons are my knuckles and an 8-inch knife. I have a cell phone, but no way to charge it. It's not safe to walk into town, and even if I could, the shop I need is at least a 5-hour walk. There is no guarantee that it will even be open. Like I said, I'm 800 miles from my home, but in the opposite direction. I have a family that's 500 miles away, but I haven't talked to them in almost a year, and the last that I'd heard, they might be moving. Let's say that this happened 4 days after shit hits the fan, the balloon goes up, and I'm trying to get back home. What are my options? Very, very good scenario, Ghost.
It is. Me?
Yes, sir. Go.
Okay. First off, the family that's 500 miles in the opposite directions turns your 800-mile trip home into an 1,800-mile trip home because it's 500 there, 500 back, and then 800 to get home. And you think, I mean, that's an unknown because you haven't talked to them, and the last you heard they were moving. So that, to me, I would go ahead and scratch that off the board. It's not even that wouldn't even be an option for me. Number one. Number two, the 800-mile trip home on foot, you're looking at best case scenario going off road, not on the hardball. You're looking at a 6-week to a 2-month trip. That's if you're covering 20 to 25 miles a day, and you can find the water and the food to sustain you for that. The city, I know, and this goes against what I normally would say, but since SHTF happened 4 days ago, a lot of the low-hanging fruit has been removed from the tree, so to speak. And the first 72 hours would have been the worst, I would think. Now you ride. I used to ride, so I know you're going to know what I say. You're going to understand what I say. Is you're familiar with this city? Do you know where the local clubhouse is? Because to me, that those guys, those brothers, are going to be your best option when you walk up. Because real recognizes real. They're going to know who you are. That would probably be your best option, is to if the local clubhouse is, if you're familiar with it, and if it's a friendly clubhouse, a friendly club, that'd probably be your best option. Now, your bike being down mechanically, is it something that you can fix? You just don't have the parts? Because if that's the case, just kind of hanging on the outskirts and looking for some other stuff on the side of the road, you might be able to scavenge that part or parts that you need for your bike. So my option would be to head into town, trying to get to that shop, even if they're not open it yourself and get the part you need, leave them an IOU or leave them the $400 and get your bike running. Because you got to get home, and that's 800 miles. So you need to get wheels. Now, whether you can get help at the clubhouse, most clubhouses have their own garage there, and get on the road. But then you're still looking at the option of, you've only got a week's worth of food and you only got $400 in cash. Now, if you got to spend some money to get the part and get the work done, maybe you don't have any cash left. But say that you find a really good brother, he hooks you up for free, doesn't charge you nothing to help you get home. Well, now your option is, what kind of gas mileage does your bike get, and where are you going to be able to get fuel? So if you got a full tank of gas, maybe they give you a couple 5-gallon tanks you can strap on the back and ride with. That's still not going to get you 800 miles. So you're going to be closer. You're going to be a lot closer. But in my personal opinion, starting to walk, for 2 months that's because you don't have the supplies, man. You're gonna be huffing and puffing. You got no weapons. You got no way to hunt other than fishing, if you can find some line and a hook, or running snares. But the population is going to be off the road in the woods with you too. It's going to be Walking Dead, day one type stuff there. So I'd head into the city, try to find some like-minded people, get your stuff fixed, and hit the road, man. Because you got to get home. You got 800 miles to cover, and you ain't gonna do it on foot. So I'd get my bike fixed one way or the other, or find a new one, or find a ride, something. It's time to. I mean, Uber ain't working, so get in there and get that part. I'd go for the nearest clubhouse. I really would. If I knew where it was at, I'd shoot there, because they're going to be there. That's going to be the rally point. They're going to be at the clubhouse. That's my take on it.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. The clubhouse deal. That's not a something I actually thought about, Ghost. That's a really good point. One of the things that the first one thing that I thought of is, because see, I'm a woods guy. I've grown up in the woods. When I was a kid, I grew up. I had 10,000 acres in my backyard. Of nothing but woods. So the city thing for me, I'm just going to be honest about this. One of my first thoughts was if I couldn't, within a day, if I could not figure out, or find the stuff to fix my motorcycle, I'm looking for a car to jack, because they did not say EMP, okay, this is a shit hits the fan scenario. This is something that, is one of them deals, and I'm just being honest with you. I'm looking for a car to jack, probably a small car, gets really good gas mileage. I'm looking for a water hose to siphon gas with. These were the first thoughts in my mind, and I'm avoiding the city like a plague. The reason why I say the city, because you have gangs, okay? I'm thinking, by the time this is 5-6 days in, to a shift situation, I'm thinking the gangs are probably going to be pretty much taken over. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of gangs are well organized, and they're going to recognize pretty quickly that it's without rule of law, and they're going to be, probably trying to take over a lot. And I'm gonna say, if you're walking through and you got a backpack, you're probably going to be a target. And now all you have to defend yourself is a knife. And if 2 or 3 guys get out with guns, you're just kind of out of luck. Now you're stuck without anything. So that was kind of the first thought that I was having on some of that, was that I'm straight up looking for a car to jack. I mean, it's without rule of law already. I'm not too worried about the cops. There's, depending on what caused the SHTF, obviously, has something to do with a lot of this. If it's not an EMP or anything, but it's an attack on the grid, whatever, and it's total chaos. There's going to be vehicles sitting around probably with keys in them, and that's kind of a first thought of mine. Is that I'm avoiding the city like a plague. Since it's already that far into it. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, it depends on what kind of situation. If it's just like a complete collapse of the grid, or if it's a collapse of society, or it's just all the cops quit and everything just went to shit. 80% of the people that are in the city, if the city isn't surrounded by, say, an occupying force, then going to the city is not an option. But a lot of people, simply because of the gangs and they can't get any supplies, they're going to leave the city unless somebody's making them stay. And so it's like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Now, if I've got to go 800 miles and I'm going to be on crowded highways and there's going to be traffic, I'm going to want to be on my bike, because I can weave, I can go in and out of traffic. I can get further on a bike than I can in a vehicle. Unless it's an off-road vehicle and I can stay on the shoulders and stuff, but I'm not the only person with a four-wheel drive. So I mean, you look at what when people are evacuating Florida for the hurricanes and things like that, they turn both sides of the highway into northbound, and they're still, up on the shoulders, completely covering it. So you figure, if it's without rule of law and it's a mass evacuation of the cities, hell, going into the city might be the safest spot. I mean, because the gangs are obviously they're gonna do their deal, but there ain't gonna be that much for them to take power of, because there's nothing in the cities. I mean, they got what, 2 days worth of food and they're done. I mean, I would rather have the bike, but it depends on the situation. If he's saying I have to get home the 800 miles and I have to do it like right now, then I'm jacking a car, just like you said. I'm gonna do the best I can. But if I want to get there, but I have time to make smart, conscious decisions, then I'm literally gonna think, what, one of the most powerful gangs you're gonna have in that city, they're sitting at the clubhouse. You know what I'm saying? They're at the clubhouse. That's the one that ain't nobody gonna screw with. I mean,
Right.
This from growing up in that atmosphere, in that life. I mean, that's where I would, when shit gets stupid, that's where we went, to the clubhouse. That's just where you go. That's where everybody meets up. Everybody's safe. You all check in. You get a game plan, and you move out. But it wasn't, a take over the world kind of thing. It's for a family safety kind of thing. Everybody came. That's the best mag on the planet, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I can make a phone call right now and have somebody here if I needed them. But 800 miles is a long way to go on foot. 800 miles is a long way to go, period, on a world without the rule of law, because you don't know what's going on the streets. I mean, it's going to be, I mean, honestly, a dirt bike would be the best thing. I might trade in the Harley for a dirt bike, something I can go up in the woods and just roll. But then, are you going to travel at daytime? Are you going to travel at nighttime? What part of the country are we in? What time of the year is it? Is it winter? Is it summer? So it could. It's a damn good scenario, Hutch, because it doesn't matter direction. Any direction you go could be the right one. A lot of the clubhouses do have a sign, but a lot of bikers, they already know where the clubhouses are. I mean, if you regularly ride on a regular, And then even if you're not affiliated, lots of times you still go to the clubhouse and hang out at least once a month because they have an open house and food and everybody's drinking. It's where we go to hang out instead of going to a bar. So I mean, you ride, where the clubhouses are. That's why I was asking, is it a city he's familiar with? Because if it's a city he's familiar with, he probably knows where the clubhouse is.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, because I dated a girl for a pretty good while that her uncle was in one of these clubs, and the only thing that I kind of seen or understand about, some of them are pretty standoffish,
Yeah.
So you could meet the wrong one. If you don't know the club at all, you could show up there and they might just decide to take the little bit of food that you got. You know what I'm saying?
This is true. But I would still roll the dice in that atmosphere versus a complete stranger, because there's a brotherhood there. You know what I mean? And even if they're clubs that don't even get along that much, when the shit hits the fan, I mean, they put down the flags, and 9 times out of 10 they do the right thing. Business is one thing. Personal is something completely different with these guys.
Well, see, and see, this is where we can bring really two excellent different perspectives. Because like I said, I'm more of a woods kind of person. I've been out in the woods my whole life. So I know how to catch fish without a fishing pole. I've done it multiple times. I've caught fish with my hands before. I know how to make traps. And capture animals. It wouldn't bother me a bit to leave a little bit. To use just a little bit of my food to stick, over a hole that I've got, that's got some little lightweight sticks on top of it with some leaves over it. And so when, an animal steps on it, they're falling in the hole. You know what I'm saying? Kind of thing. I know how to do this stuff. This is stuff I've done, and made happen before. So, so this is where this will be really interesting as we go into this more, because we can bring two different types of perspectives on this. And my thoughts is the woods, man. I'm hitting the woods. And the first thing too that everybody needs to understand is, if you're going on an 800-mile trip, okay, now I want to explain this real quick. When you're going on an 800-mile trip, first thing you need to do is you need to know multiple routes. I mean, plain and simple. Before you go, it may take you a couple of hours. It may even take you 3 hours. But you get 800 miles from the house, and the balloon goes up, shit hits the fan. It's a bad deal, and you're broke down. You're stuck like you are. You're going to be going, man, I wished I would have spent that hour or two studying the different routes and the terrain, topo maps, print some out. If you don't have a printer, you can go down to your local library and look this stuff up and print stuff out. And I don't think it costs you hardly anything. There's Kinko, huh?
Yeah, I think it's like 10 cents a copy.
And so these are some of the things that you're going to, that you should do before you go on such a long trip, because you're going to have, you're going to have your routes that are the quickest. That's the ones that the most people are going to be traveling. Your generic people are going to be traveling the easiest route, plain and simple. You're going to want to know, if there's farms in between. You're going to want to know these kind of things. Topo maps will show you this stuff. These Google Earth maps and stuff, man, you can see where the houses are, the roads, everything. And this is something, my opinion, you're going 800 miles, you're going to want to have this information. Because you're going to want to know where the water, it'll show you where all the ponds are. It'll show you where all this stuff is. See, and right now, I'm assuming that when you left to go on this trip, everything was still good. There wouldn't be a reason why you would leave and go 800 miles, and have to come back home, when the balloon goes up. So, You know, that's something that was my thought on, you know, you're going that far away, have atlases, you know, have some topo maps, you know, and carry them with you. You know, you're talking about, you know, not something that's not very heavy. It's not going to take up a whole lot of room, and it's going to be very super important.
You brought up a good point too. Maybe this is just a short-term shift situation. Maybe the smart move, if it's not a medical emergency that you have to get home, maybe the smart move is to go off into the wood line somewhere, find you a secure location. You got a week's worth of food, find you a secure location, maybe scout out some areas where you can trap and fish or hunt, do what you can. But maybe it would be smart to just kind of, you know, cut your week's worth of food, maybe ration it a little bit and spend 3 or 4 days just laying low and seeing if this stuff just kind of works itself out. And some maybe you can figure out exactly what's going on and get a better choice in your head. You know, if it's smart to go into town, or if you just need to start hitchhiking it and going on a 2 or 3 month, you know, hike all the way home. But that's going to be, it's going to depend. It's relative, man. It's going to depend on what the hell's going on right here where you're at, what time of the year it is. I mean, is this, are you in Arizona where you can't find water, or are you, you know, on the East Coast somewhere, you know, where there's, you know, water everywhere, streams and rivers and mountains and things like that. So it's going to depend. It's going to be relative.
Oh Lord.
I saw that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you better email that one.
Yeah. Yeah, and see, and that's another point right there too. See, is a lot of people, you know, you know, a lot of people like to hit them back roads and stuff, you know, and you may get lucky, you know, and you know, you see someone on a bike, you know, and you can kind of tell, you know, and maybe you get lucky and dude's like, hey, I'm going, you know, or the woman, you know, is like, hey, I'm going, you know, 60 miles in that direction, you know, I'll give you a ride that far, you know. There is these possibilities, you know. You just never, I mean,
Yeah.
but
Another option,
you know,
is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
I was going to say another option too is find your local Harley dealership, kick in the fucking window and go part shopping. Maybe get a new bike. You know what I mean? It's there's going to be parts and stuff laying around. I mean, honestly, my number one priority is going to be getting my conveyance working. If I know what's wrong with the bike, if I know I can fix it, then I can get the parts to fix it nonchalantly off in the wood lines. I can just go get what I need, come back, fix it, maybe siphon a little gas on the way. Then I'll do that because you're going to get a whole lot more mileage for the gallon. You know, I just think having a bike would be tactically an advantage when it comes to weaving in and out through traffic because, you know, it just depends. I mean, are the gas stations open? Can you get gas? Are they charging $100 a gallon for that gas? You know, but 800 miles, I mean, you're not walking it. I mean, you can a couple, 3 months if you can find food and water.
Yeah, and well, okay, Prepper 101, the biker vehicle isn't the problem, it's finding fuel. Well, that can be true, but not necessarily so. And the reason I say this is because, you know, if the interstate is crowded and there's nobody in the vehicles, there's going to be a bunch of fuel, you know, and that's why I mentioned earlier about a water hose. You know, I'm finding a water hose and cutting me a good length of it and keeping it with me, you know, and you know, if I've got the vehicle, because you're going to be able to find vehicles that have fuel already in them. And hey, who knows? Maybe you find that Ferrari sitting on the side of the road that's, you know, and you know, that's got fuel in it, and somebody got, I don't know, something happened, whatever, for whatever reason, and man, you know, you drive a Ferrari for a little while.
Like if I was 50 miles from home or even 100 miles from home, I can do 100 miles in 4 days with a load on my back. I've done it before many times. I can do 100 miles in 4 days with a load. I'm done for about a week once I get there, but I can do 100 miles in 4 days. But that's on the road. You know, that's nothing in my way, not up and down, not dodging trees. If I'm in the wood line doing 100 miles, give it a week. at least. But the thing is, you got to have the food, you got to have the water. If I'm only 100 miles from home, I'm heading home. I'm leaving my bike on the side of the road and I'm stepping out. At 800 miles, I need my bike. I need some kind of conveyance, whether it's a horse, a pedal bicycle, 10 speed, off-road pedal bicycle. You're going to need some kind of conveyance if you need to be there in a hurry.
Yeah. See, this is something else too that, they are when you pull up into a gas station parking lot, you'll see all them little humps. Them are to the fuel tanks. If you've got a way to get the lid off right there, I mean, you've got fuel right there.
And now most of those locks on those fuel lids are sheathed locks, so you can't just go up to them with a set of bolt cutters and think it's going to work. You got to have
right.
You're gonna need some skills to get that. I mean, they're not tamper proof, but they're tamper resistant.
Right. But at the same time, if the store is closed down, windows busted in, a lot of people are going to go in and try to get the candy bars and the cigarettes and all that. They're probably not thinking at this time. They're not thinking about the fuel.
Right.
So that's something that you can go in and look for the keys, and you might can find a key to open that lock.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's something you can think about there.
You know what? Actually, I'm not positive, but I do believe that the gas station attendant does not have the key to the gas tanks. I think the gas company has that. I think they actually own the fuel until you sell it, and then you get your cut. So I think the driver of the truck actually has those keys. And I know those locks, when I say they're sheathed, I mean that the lock itself, the part that everybody cuts with bolt cutters, they have cast metal that go like all the way up those things, almost like the locks that you find at a public self-storage place. They're a pain in the ass, but there are ways to get through them.
Well, and so, where I was wanting to go with this too was that another thing I was thinking about with the woods thing is that it's a lot easier to hide in the woods than it is to, that's one of the things that I kept saying about not going into the city for my personal. I know that you had said that there's going to be people that are probably, there's not going to be much in there left. And the gangs, but see them gang members, they know that city inside and out, and that's what scares me about that is that it's it might be hard to hide from them. It might be hard to make any kind of movement.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the smart move might just be to just hold up for 3 or 4 days and kind of let the smoke settle and figure out what's going on. Unless you have to move now. If you have to move now, it's a coin flip, man. Either go to town and get the parts you need, get your bike fixed and roll, or hit the road, try to, steal a car, bum a ride, work it out on your own. Yeah. I honestly, in this particular situation, let's say hypothetically he wants to get home, but he doesn't have to be there right now. The smart move may be to just kind of lay low for about 72 hours and let the smoke settle. And then you'll probably, once you get some intel, you have a better idea on what you can and can't do.
There you go. The fuel trucks, even after that. So what I guess what I'm understanding there is once they have pumped out the fuel into the tanks, there's still a little bit of retain there left over.
He also said that he delivers fuel. He's a driver, and he said the store and the driver have keys.
That New York Outcast. You're absolutely right. I remember you seeing you.
You're right. You're right. Yeah.
I remember seeing some people do that. So yeah, there you go. So there's another thought of something you can do right there is maybe hit a gas station and get you some gas. The thing about it is there's a, if you've got the Topo maps hitting the woods, you get out there in the woods, man, you can trap. If you can find these streams and things like that, maybe you come up on an old farm that's abandoned you know, somebody left. I mean, they, you know, maybe they bugged out somewhere to another family. Maybe you can find an old fishing pole. I mean, there's a lot of different things that as you're progressing towards the house, because what you said at first, the 500 miles the opposite direction, yeah, that's not happening. That's to me, that's a no-go. You know,
Yeah,
that's
because you might get all the way there and nobody's home. Then you got to cover that 500 miles again on top of the 800. So you're looking at an 1,800-mile trip instead of an 800-mile trip. So to me, the numbers just don't add up.
yeah. Not to mention, you know, if you're going 500 miles in the opposite direction of your home, each day that passes by is probably going to get a little worse. Possibility.
Yeah.
And you don't know. You may know more about from your house to that 800-mile location than you know about from that 800-mile location to the next 500 miles. You may not
Right.
know very much about that at all.
Right.
You're going to know probably more about the 800-mile direction.
Yeah.
Excuse
Well,
me.
plus it's a gamble. You don't even know if they're there. So I wouldn't even that would not even, it wouldn't even cross my mind to go 500 miles in the opposite direction if I had to get home.
Right.
You know, it would be hard enough for me to sit in the wood line for 3 days waiting for the smoke to settle when that's 3 days that I could have been walking to my house. That's 100 miles I could have covered. You know what I mean? So I would do all I could to repair my bike or get another bike and get on the road.
Yeah, and see, so one of the things I was thinking too is that the charger cord for your phone. Okay, see, again, you have to understand that was it a grid down? If grid's down, your cell phone's going to be useless to you anyway. I mean, I'm going to keep the cell phone with me, but grid down, you're not going to have cell phone. There's more than likely your cell phone's not going to work. It's going to be pretty much useless to you. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the little games or something on it will work, you know, but unless you know, if you downloaded some actual music to your phone, you might can listen to a little music. But again, at that time, I'm probably going to be not worrying too much about anything that's going to make noise, especially if I don't have earbuds. And I don't really want to put earbuds in at that time either, because then I can't hear people sneaking up on me. So the phone is going to be pretty much a back pocket thing that just I keep with me just because. As far as it goes for charging it, a bug out bag, honestly, my bug out bags have the solar panels in them, the little solar chargers in them. If you don't have a solar charger, I'm going to say you're going to be able to probably find a car, and more than likely there's going to be a cell phone charger in it. I mean, these days
I can charge a cell phone with a 9-volt battery and a paper clip.
Yeah, you can if you know what you're doing.
Not hard.
Yeah, if you know what you're doing.
I need to spring from a ballpoint pen, a 9-volt battery, and a phone charger. I can get it to work. But I mean, you can bring your charger with you. You got your phone, you got your charger. You just got no powers, I'm assuming. So you're gonna need to find a battery to make it work, or charge it in a car. Yeah, pop holes in the bottom of the tank, drain the fuel out. Yep. Yeah, so that's I mean, it all depends on how fast you need to get home. You need to, or you have to. That's the big. If you have to, you point your fucking nose south and you start going. You know, if you need to, then you can take a little bit extra time, get you a conveyance, either fix your bike, get a different bike, borrow a horse, you know, a very large dog, something that you can ride, you know, to point your butt south and get home.
Yeah, because that's another good point. You know, a horse. There's a lot of farms across this land that have horses. There's horses. I know around here there's horses everywhere. You know,
yeah.
I wouldn't be scared to throw a saddle on one and jump up on and take off. You know, what are they going to do? Horse stealing is a hangable offense. I mean, you got to catch me first. You know, first off, in a bug out situation, I don't see somebody chasing after you very far on a horse.
Yeah. You know, and you're talking it's 4 days after SHTF, which means you were probably further than 800 miles from home, and your bike crapped out while you were on the way home. That makes sense since it's day 4 of SHTF. So by day 4, you would think there would be some intel as to what was actually going on. Is it a hostile takeover? Is it a grid down? Is it a collapse of the infrastructure? You know, and that's going to lead you more into the direction that you need to go. If it's a hostile takeover and some form of military is involved, you might need to be able to get into the city. So that option may be completely off the table.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Native, and that's the whole thing of what I was saying with you don't. I know it sounds like, well, my gosh, you got to have 100 things in your vehicle. Well, it's not. It's not really necessarily that, especially that you're on a bike. But anytime you're going to take a trip that far away from your home, you should have multiple routes home. You never know. Just like these storms came through, maybe it's not even a SHTF, and you're just trying to get home.
Yeah.
And storms has rolled through the direction that you normally travel, and it's going to be shut down for 2 or 3 days. You want to know an alternate route around, so it's not anything that find out how far I will chase you. Well, again, though, in day 4, day 5 of SHTF, and you come out and you see hoof tracks, and you look, 200 yards, 300 yards down there, and you see me galloping off into the bushes, into the woods. Are you really going to leave your place? You know what I'm saying? Are you really going to leave your place and shit hits the fan? Day 4, day 5 of shit hits the fan. Are you day 7, day 8, day 10? Are you really going to leave your place, or are you just going to chalk that one up as a loss? I mean, that's really a good question to ask. Would you day 4, 5, even further into it a little bit? Maybe
You
you're.
know, and I mean, it's still, we could, there's like 9,000 different directions we could go with this scenario because there's so many moving parts in this scenario. Because he gave us the broke down vehicle, he gave us the distance. The only thing we didn't get was the time of year and the terrain. You know, the time of year and terrain are very important. But let's just assume that it's good weather, flat terrain. We're not talking about the Rockies or up in the Appalachians. We're talking, decently flat terrain, good weather, 4 days in, close to a major city. It has to be a major city if it's a 5-hour walk to get to the bike shop, repair shop. I mean, that's a big damn city. So obviously the city is not the place you want to be when all hell's breaking loose. But if that city has what you need to get your conveyance running, and it's day 4, it's in broad daylight. Maybe all the bad guys are kind of laying low to the cover of dark. Maybe you can get in and get out. Maybe you can find a bike shop on the outskirts of town or a dealership. Get a new bike, get a better bike, get a different bike, or at least get the parts. You may be able to find comparable parts on the highway. As you're pushing your bike, you may be able to find what you need on the highway from somebody else's broke down bike or a vehicle that runs. So it's just going to depend on how motivated you are to make that 800-mile trip. I mean, like I said, is it a necessity? It has to be done now, today, or is it something that I just need to get there as soon as I can? If it's I need to get there as soon as I can, you can be a little bit more safe, and you can be a little bit more calculated on what kind of risks you're going to take and the options that you have.
See, one of the things that I keep looking at here on this email is that on this scenario is that I'm stuck on the border of a city that has been burning for 5 days. That right there is enough for me to know I'm not going in there because it's total chaos. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, if you can get to the shop, it's been burning for 5 days. Well, you know what? There probably aren't a whole lot of people left there. It's been burning for 5 days. All hell's been broken loose. All the low hanging fruit's been pulled from the tree. So you're talking about walking 800 miles, which is going to take you 2 to 3 months. in the best conditions versus, you know, bolting into the city, taking a chance on getting what you need and pulling out, at least giving it a shot, going in there and seeing if you can actually do it. If it's safe enough to where you can actually do it and you can get the part and you can make it home in 2 days versus 2.5 months, it may be worth it. It may be worth the risk.
Yeah, the main thing that's going to probably question or bring me in on if I would even consider going into the city, it would definitely have to be if I have any other available vehicles around that I could hotwire or whatever. You know, a lot of the newer cars now, you have to understand, you start hotwiring them, you start messing with them, they will lock down.
Oh yeah.
If you don't know how to bypass that car locks down and it's no good to you. So that is something you need to keep into consideration, is that them things will the woods won't be safe. Well, see, the problem with it is nowhere will be safe, but I'll take my chances in the woods because like I said, I grew up in the woods.
I would rather be in the woods than in the city by far.
Absolutely.
You know, I can deal with the woods. I've spent many a day, many a night hunting, fishing. I can make it work in the woods. Problem is, that's not my issue. My issue is I need to get 800 miles south of here.
Right.
You know, we know we can survive in the woods, but we need to go 800 miles. On foot, 3 months. With a conveyance, 2 days. Maybe call it a week if there's really bad traffic and issues and you got to change vehicles over and over. You know what? Honestly, this just came to me, man. Maybe the best move is, if we're out in the woods somewhere or we're anywhere close to a city, is hitting the fucking airport, finding somebody that can fly a small plane and making them fly me south 800 miles. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a lot of little small airports, these little Cessnas, and these, you know, you got a lot of farms around here that got their own freaking airports where they fly the crop dusters. Bro,
that's true.
There's $400. There's 4,000 more when you get me 800 miles south of here. Let's go. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy options. I mean, are you on the coast? If you're near the coast, steal a fucking boat. You know?
Right. Well, man, the chat is jumping.
Yeah, it is.
I'm trying to find a scene, a good one. Well, I can't find it now. It jumped so hard.
Yeah, it's got to where it'll like stall out and then it'll jump like a whole page.
Yeah, it jumps like real far.
Yeah, I mean, if you're close to a river and it's going the right direction, get a boat. If you're close to the coast, hell, still a boat.
Well, that's one of the things is, again, that's where your topo maps are going to come into play. You're going to really want to make sure that if you're that far away from home, you're going to want to have these good topo maps. I mean, it's just, I can't express that enough. You know, take the hour or two that it may take for you to just look up and say, you know, maybe you do a thing of, hey, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up all the rivers, streams, creeks in this state. You know, I'm going to take these 3 directions, and I'm going to take time and I'm going to look up and I'm going to print stuff out so I know where all my water resources are.
Right.
In the topo map, you look at it, you start printing this stuff up. So you got several pages of stuff. I would rather have them several pages of stuff than I would to be sitting there going, crap, which way do I go? You know I know I got to go back that direction. And that's you're just kind of, because well, I'm saying if you don't have these maps and you don't have these different directions and these topo maps and everything, maybe you're not that good at reading a compass. Maybe you don't even have one. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe something has went down to where the compasses don't work right. Some kind of magnetic, crazy thing that shut down the power grid. Yeah, I mean, these are a lot of things. These topo maps are going to be very important. And you know, there's a lot of these things that will, you know, the creeks and the rivers will go this way, and the creeks will go this way, and then you can kind of stick close enough that you can walk down, and then you can ease over right before dark and get your water, and you can find you a good little spot to camp out, a little quick, you know, makeshift little lean-to, whatever. Won't take very long. There's a lot of these little things that you can do. For me, I'm just the main interstate, and the shortest route is not the best.
Nope.
Is probably not the best.
Nope. It's going to be jammed, clogged with broke down traffic jam vehicles. You know, and Hutch just put in there, it's a 3-gallon gas tank. It's roughly 140 miles. All right. That means you got to stop at minimum 5 times to make it the 800 miles, and siphon and refuel. So, I mean, so yeah, it's doable. It's going to be a pain in the ass. It's still going to be quicker than walking. You know, it's, you know, those things aren't quiet. They make a lot of noise, so people are going to know you're coming. But there's still a good chance there's going to be a whole lot of people on the highway trying to get somewhere too. So I mean, there's you can kind of blend in a little bit, not much. It is a Harley, but I would seriously move on to a different conveyance. You know, maybe an off-road vehicle of some type, whether that be a 4-wheeler or an off-road bike, something like that. Because I mean, and now if you're talking horseback, I mean, you really got to make sure you're staying close to a water source, and you got to really make sure you're staying close to a food source for that animal. You know, he ain't going to go very far without any water. So I mean, you know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, man. I honestly, you know, looking back at the whole, you know, 140 miles on a tank of gas. You know, now if you can strap a couple of 5-gallon gas tanks behind you, you know, and you can go, I mean, that's going to get you, you know, 2/3 of the way there easily. So that might be a good move, especially if the clubhouse is nice for you, and hooks you up with some fuel and the parts you need to fix your bike. But other than that, you know, if it's not like I have to get home now, it may be smart to just, you know, to just take the slow and steady route, man. Just start on foot, get a ride when you can, try to blend in, don't start any waves, hope things calm down a little bit. But I mean, if I had a bike and I can get it running in a day, and I can leave town with the 3 gallons in my tank and 10 gallons behind me or in my saddlebags, that's what I'm doing, because I can you know, I got speed, I can move, I'm making up time. You know, even if I get halfway and I run out of gas and I can't find any more, I'm still 400 miles closer.
Right. Yeah, that's so. What is this? Pick better friends. What? I don't even know.
Backwoods.
There's something going on in the chat I'm missing.
I don't know.
It's kind of hard to keep up with chat sometimes.
It is.
So what do you think? You wanna see about maybe bringing Hutch on, and we can discuss some of this even further?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Hutch, are you still there? Let me text him and see if he's still there. We can bring him up. One of the things that Backwoods and Ghost, just going through several hurricanes, people are so stupid, no common sense, no survival knowledge whatsoever. See, that's another thing that you're going to have to understand too, that, man, 3 or 4 days without water and people are going to be pretty much nothing.
Well, Hutch did this shit on purpose. He's not stupid, all right? He didn't say it was, you know, you're 800 miles from home and the balloon goes up, because you got about a 72-hour window. You can make some moves in those first 2 or 3 days. He said 4 days after on purpose, just to completely screw with my game plan, because now I'm going to shit. There's no window of opportunity for me to put some miles behind me in the bullshit. I know he done it on purpose. Yeah, so he kind of took that whole gray area completely out of it.
Well, that's the whole thing. See, and one of the things that everybody needs to understand too is that anything that I'm sorry. let me get this. I'm trying to do 2 or 3 things at once. One of the things you got to understand is that all your game plans are awesome. Have game plans, but also have game plans for them game plans and have game
Yep.
plans for them game plans, and then be ready to be open minded as well, because it's not going to be something that everything is going to work exactly according to plan. Everything you're going to be doing this, you're going to be doing that. Everything's cool. We're ready. Yada yada, things like that. It's boat or canoe would be a good choice, absolutely. And see, that's one of the things that people are. Man, I'm just telling you, I can't express enough of having the topo maps. If you're going that far away, have the topo maps, have the different directions, understand woods. Myself, I'm going to the woods, man. I mean, I can build structures, I can camp out a couple of days and get some really good rest. I can trap, I can fish. There's plenty of ways that you can capture fish without having to have a fishing pole. You can build a rock deal and throw some bugs over in it and sit there and be patient. And when the fish come up and swim over in to get the bugs that you put into the water and into your little rock trap, and just stick a rock where they come in at, and you're ready to go. You've got fish right there. I mean, that it works. I've done it. These are things that you can get food, having a little small deal. And also, see, I did notice this in the chat while ago. Having a no, it's buffering a lot. Having one of the edibles, the wild edible books, is good. The problem with it is the wild edibles that I have here in Arkansas may not be the same wild edibles that you have 800 miles away. So you have to understand that as well. There are going to be some common wild edibles, but there are going to be a lot of things that may look similar in another state that looks similar to an edible here that's not edible there. There are them plants out there that look very similar in nature, and you think, I need the link again. I sent it to you in your email. I can resend it though, Hutch. Let me do it like this. Control C. Y'all give me a minute. Go ahead, Hutch, and there you go, right there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on day 4, you're not in scavenger mode. You're not in a safe scavenger mode. If you're scavenging on day 4, you're low hanging fruit, brother. You're a target. People are zeroing rifles on your dumb ass. If you're gonna walk up to a farm on day 4 and think you're gonna take something, you're probably not leaving that farm. Your fertilizer for next season's crops is what you are. Your pig food. Yeah, you're day 4. I mean, that's not even viable.
Well, and you got to think back too of what we I sent it to you, Hutch, on your email. What you got to think too is, remember when we were talking about the last scenario about people setting up perimeters, people setting up a lot of this stuff. These are things that you do got to take into consideration, because you get. I'm not trying to say I'm some bad, awesome son of a gun or anything, but I can promise you that I've been around long enough and had enough practice and enough training and the practice in the woods, of growing up, that it's not going to be easy to make it around my house,
right?
And especially if you're trying to steal something.
Yeah,
because
if you're stuck on day 4 with this scenario, if it's day 4 and you're 800 miles from home and you got to get there, it's time for you need to make big moves. You know what I'm saying? You need to take monster steps. As in, if you're close to the coast, get a boat. If you're close to a river, get a boat. You know, if you're on a major highway, get the hell away from it. All right, you're 4 days in. If you're beside a huge city, you know, and it's got the parts you need, there's a damn good chance you can find the parts you need on the road, drive somewhere. So I mean, I would take it. Go ahead.
I have to take this call.
Yeah, so it's kind of like one half a dozen of the other. It just depends on how fast you need to get 800 miles from where you are and your options. There's vehicles there on the side, but we're talking day 4. So the people that were evacuating have probably already evacuated. That means there's probably a massive traffic jam. Somebody was trying to text and drive at the same time. They caused a wreck. The highways may be impassable, you know, so that's where a 2-wheeled vehicle comes in handy, like a motorcycle. That's where also a 4-legged vehicle comes in handy, like a horse. Worst case scenario, you got to walk. Hopefully, you can walk far enough past the traffic jam, or you can find another means of travel. You know, but if you got to be 800 miles from here in the next week, then you got some big moves. You're not going to do it on foot. You're going to need a boat. You're going to need a plane. You're going to need a vehicle. And then you may get lucky. You know, there may be somebody down the road and offers you a ride. You know, you never can tell. You may be able to get in contact with home 800 miles away, and everything's fine. There's no rush. So if you can establish contact via a ham radio, shortwave, CB, something, if you can establish contact with home and you find out that everything's good, you know, it didn't hit hard there, everybody's fine, then maybe you can slow your roll and back off your pace a little bit, and you can take your time and make sure you're safe and you got what you need to cover that 800 miles in a safe manner to ensure that you actually get there.
Yeah, see, that was my cousin. They actually got his lights back on, so he's good to go. Power, yeah. It wasn't whatever fed his power wasn't so bad. And anyway, so I had to take that call to make sure if I needed to make a trip in the morning. Anyway, so yeah, I sent that to Hutch on Tuesday. He told me to send it to his other email, so I did. So maybe he'll pop on here in a minute if Hutch is still listening.
Yeah, so that was something I didn't think of before. Maybe instead of just going for fixing the bike, if the grid isn't down, let's get that phone charged and see if we can get in touch with home. If everything's fine and they're good and the shit hadn't hit there hard, maybe you can slow your roll, take your time, and make smart choices and not rush. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you can just lay low and just, you know, do a few miles a day, take your time, and ensure that you actually get there safe and alive.
Right, because here he is. Right, that's one of the things. There's old Hutch.
What's up? What's
going on? Another day, man.
Council of Beards.
Yeah. Right. Y'all's are just bigger than mine. Mine just it grows kind of thick, but it just does not grow long, man. It never has since I could grow hair down to my ass on my head, but I've never, my beard will not get over about that long. That's it. It never has. It is what it is.
It is what it is. I'm gonna see just how long it can get. What do you think, Hutch? How do we do?
You guys pretty much hit it on point. I was figuring the scenario would be pretty much. What's up, chat? Everybody, what's going on? What's up, fellas? I pretty much figured if it was like a nationwide civil unrest kind of thing, like right on the verge of the WWWD Civil War kind of feel. You know what I mean? So it's pretty much no matter where you are, big city, small town, there's some kind of drama. It's almost where it'd be, maybe in the cities, it would be a shoot first, ask questions later kind of situation.
Yeah.
But then it was like, me, myself, you know, I'd have the option to go into clubhouses and things, but know your limitations. There's some people out there, if they walk up to a clubhouse, they're just going to get laughed at and bad things are going to happen.
That's when I said real recognizes real. They know.
Yeah.
They know. I mean, I walk up. I mean, you don't just walk up to a clubhouse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now you can if you know how that works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you've done it before, you know, if you know, there's not like a secret handshake or anything, but they can smell bullshit from the parking lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you don't just walk up to a clubhouse because somebody told you bikers are cool. That ain't how it works. That don't work.
Because I mean, I'm not trying to put them down, but I've noticed over the last couple of years that there's a big trend with the dentist crowd driving very expensive bikes and their pink polo shirts and their brand new leathers. Don't walk up to a clubhouse wearing that shit.
Yeah, none of those ever came up to our clubhouse.
Yeah.
None of those ever came up to you. I didn't
Well,
have much.
Well, that's kind of why I brought that up a while ago, because like I said, I dated that girl, you know, and we went to the clubhouse a couple of times, and I'm gonna tell you, man, they were pretty standoffish. You know, they kind of made me feel like I needed to stand in the corner for a little while, you know, and just be quiet, you know, and I did. I was
depending on
make you work
for it. Yeah, depending on who you go with or who brings you in, you're looking at a 3 to 6 month probation that you don't even know you're on, like legit. Right. Depending on who actually brings you into it, you know, whether you're family or not, you know. So I mean,
it was really funny because so there was apparently one of the bikers, you know, he was still a probie, you know, and they were basically he wanted to date the girl that we were living together. Okay. So he wanted to date her. Well, there was a party one night, and he got a little drunk, and he come up and he kind of started trying to start crap with me, you know. And I pretty much just told him, dude, I mean, we can do it here. We can step outside, whatever you want to do. Let's go. And of course they broke it up immediately. You know, they got in between us and everything, and they actually made him leave. Since I was a guest, they made him leave because he had actually started the fight, you know. And I didn't think nothing about it. Well, the next day, so I get a phone call. We get a phone call. My girlfriend, you know, she gets a phone call, and they want to talk to me, and they's like, we need you to be at the clubhouse at 1:00. And I'm like, okay. And they was like, it's not an option. And I was like, okay. And I was thinking, uh-oh, you know, what's going on here? And so I went to the clubhouse, and man, they flat told me, they was like, we're going to go in here and have a meeting and decide on what to do about this situation. And I'm like, okay, what do you mean? And it's like, well, y'all two may end up fighting in the parking lot. We may shun you. We may welcome you with open arms. We may put him, you know, he may get in trouble. I mean, it was just, you know, there was just all these options, and I'm just like sitting there thinking, what the hell? I was just at the party. I wasn't even doing anything, you know. But they come out, and they were really cool about it, and they was like, the guy got put on a probation deal, had to do cleanup because it was determined that he did start the fight, that I stood my ground, but I was respectful, and that the fact that I had the cojones to show up to their clubhouse, you know, and didn't cower away. They really respected that, and I was friends with them for a pretty good while after that, you know. But I did ask one of them. I was like, so if I wouldn't have showed up, what would have happened? And he goes, well, we probably don't want to talk about that. And I was like, okay, that's what I figured.
You think in a SHTF situation, some of those golfers are going to actually ride their $100,000, you know, showroom bikes up to a clubhouse, like for real? I would love to see that.
I've met a lot of naive ass people, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That don't even consider that, hey, there's a completely different, you know, even though regardless of how arbitrary it sounds to anybody else, this is a culture that has its own rules, its own guidelines, its own respect, the same, you know, whether it's an MC, whether it's a gang on the street, whether it's a bunch of rednecks and, you know, in a trailer park. Each set is going to, you know, if you go in asking for favors, you might get stuck for 3 or 4 months because you're obligated to something now. You know, so you got to pay attention to things like that too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, it would be a funny scenario. Maybe you. Yeah, that would be something. But yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it working out in anybody's favor that way.
Lele, real quick. Well, Lele, real quick, to let you know, my girlfriend didn't actually like take me. I mean, I went there with her, but we were invited by her uncle, who was a high-ranking member in the clubhouse. So I was invited there by him. I was just saying I went there with her. I was also invited to the party by him. So yeah, I know there's certain rules and stuff that these clubhouses have.
That was a weird option that I threw in there. It kind of caught him off guard when I said, dude, where's the clubhouse? I mean, are you friendly? I mean, if it's a city that you're familiar with, are you friendly? That's where the fuck I'm going. Like, for real. That's the first, if I can get to it, that's where I'm going, because that's what they're going to be.
Because you figure if I'm 800 miles from the house, you know, and I've already been out for 5 days, obviously I'm on a cross-country road trip, you know, festivals, all this shit. So there's going to be bikes everywhere, you know, there's going to be rallies everywhere. So there's going to be a lot of other riders on the road, a lot of unexperienced riders who never know, you know, they might be driving that, you know, that $100,000 trike Goldwing and pull up to the wrong spot just because they don't know, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's why it was my first option. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm 800 miles from home. I'm on my bike. I'm near a city that now all shit's breaking loose. The first thing I think is, where's the nearest clubhouse? And is it friendly with me? Am I friendly with them? Have I ever been there before? Because if I have, that's where the fuck I'm going. Like, hands down, first choice, that's where the fuck I'm going. I'm 800 miles from home. It might be a risk, but I know if I get there, I'm safe. You know what I mean? I can make moves. You know, I've got a place to be, because ain't nobody gonna just walk up and start fucking with that place. That'll be like the last building in town that gets burnt down. Like, for real. Right. The police station and the fire department will go first. That building will be the last building in town that gets fucked with. The paint, all the windows are going to be fine on that building. You know what I mean?
Yep. Virginia Ruth had a good one here too. If you can't find a clubhouse, go to like a VFW hall or something like that, or a Legion.
Oh yeah. That's a good.
Now, I would be more inclined to go to a VFW than I would a biker clubhouse if I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're not friendly with that club, I mean, there's a big difference in a clubhouse in North Carolina versus a clubhouse in Mississippi or Florida. Now, you're talking 3 totally separate clubs that do not fucking get along. Okay, so it's a big.
And then you also got the club. You've got the club. It depends on who you are too, because there are some full blown. If you're not white, you ain't right clubs, and there's some full blown black only clubs. You know what I mean? Yeah. It
That's
goes
what I was saying.
ways.
Like, are you familiar with that city? Because if you're familiar with that city and you ride, you've probably been to that clubhouse once a month during an open house and had some really good food and had a blast. That's why that brought up. I'm like, well, if he's on a road trip, he's probably been there before, more than likely, because that's what we did. I mean, it's just where we went. But now in hindsight,
that's a good thing.
Do what?
That if anybody rides, you don't have to join a club or do anything like that, but get to know other people that ride, because you never know if you're friends with this guy in this club here, he might have affiliations with the club that's, 20 states away, and that could literally save your life. You don't have to kiss ass and, live with people, but make associations for your hobbies. That way you've always got it back.
But, hindsight being 2020, looking at this scenario all over again, I think my number one priority would be Intel getting in touch with home. If everybody's good at home, I can slow down, I can slow my roll, and I can make safe, smart decisions when I get home. If there's a way to contact them, get the phone charged, ham radio, CB, something. If I can, maybe it's a localized SHTF. I don't know. Maybe it hasn't hit, where home is yet. Maybe it won't. Maybe my home 800 miles away is in the middle of the woods, like where I live here. we're pretty much good, you know. So maybe if I can get in touch, everything's fine here, we're good, then I can slow down a little bit and make smart choices and take my time getting there.
He did say, Hutch did say, you did text or type earlier. I saw that you said a nationwide shift. So was you thinking more of it's nationwide, it's going down, it's all over, it's a bad deal?
I'm pretty much imagine, you know, Ferguson, all these cities burning down, happening in towns as small as 5,000 people. Literally every single town across the country, pretty much.
Yeah, I would definitely try to make contact.
It's feasible. All it's going to take is, you know, 3 or 4 verdicts, and that, you know, that's something that could happen in the middle of somebody's vacation, and you're just kind of stuck, you know.
Yeah, true. But you know, intel, like knowing what's going on at home is going to dictate your pace of movement. If everybody's good, then you can pace where, you know, you can ensure that you get there. If they're good but maybe not so good, maybe you need to pick it up a little bit. If all hell's breaking loose, I'm getting there. You know, I'm breaking every fucking law I got to break. You know,
well, see, I figure like in my situation, since we got the homestead, I know that it would be safe and secure out here, so there wouldn't be no rush to get back. So I'd have the advantage of being able to, you know, take my sweet ass time. You know, I'd want to do it within 2 weeks time at most, but I'd still have that cushion. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like, if I lived in town, then I'd be home right now. You know what I mean? So that all plays a part in it too.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's something else that needs to be brought up to point. And just real quick, everybody in the chat and everything, like I said, you know, Ghost and I don't know everything. You know, this is just something we look at these scenarios and we study and we think about them. We take some days to think about things to bring to y'all, and you know, you guys in the chat, man, y'all are smart too. You know, y'all bring up a lot of good stuff that makes us think. You know, this is what this is all about, is for each one of us to think, you know, to gives y'all something to think about, gives us something to think about, something we can, you know. And this is something that I've been thinking about while we're talking, is that it would seem to me, if, especially in these days and times, if I'm going on at least an 800-mile trip or further, I'm going to already have a game plan in place for my family that is here, so that if the balloon goes up, shit hits the fan, I'm gonna tell them, don't worry about me, go here, you know, do this. You know, we're gonna have game plans in place, you know, before I leave. So that's going to be something that I think that's going to be something that is going to be very important to think about nowadays. You know, 20 years ago, probably would have never thought of this. Today's time, I mean, it's probably going to take, I mean, it would have to be something really big and important to get me to leave and go that far away from my home. Nowadays.
Oh, it's a vacation. Like, see, like I'll do cross country trip and not even think about it. You know, I'm a 11-month out of the year rider. So for me to just up and drive 400 miles just randomly because I'm bored, you know, it's not a surprise for anybody here. So, you know, I can find myself in that situation actually pretty freaking easily, you know.
Okay. A couple of people are asking to repeat the original scenario.
Yeah, we did get kind of way out in left field. Yeah, I might want to repeat it again.
All right. So on a bike trip, 800 miles from home, I have mechanical failure and I am left with a non-functional vehicle. I'm stuck on the border of a city that has been burning for 5 days. All I have is my bug out bag with 4 sets of clothes, 1 week worth of food, 400 in cash, and my only weapons are my knuckles and my 8-inch knife. I have a cell phone, but no way to charge it. It's not safe to walk into town. And even if I could, the shop I need is at least a 5-hour walk. And there is no guarantee that it will even be open. Like I said, I am 800 miles from home, but in the opposite direction, I have a family 500 miles away. but I haven't talked to them in almost a year. And the last I heard, they may be moving. Let's say that this happened 4 days after shit hits the fan, and I'm trying to get back home. So, one of the things, you know, again, what I was saying, Hutch, is to me, the 500-mile opposite direction, I'm like, that wouldn't even be a consideration for me personally. It's, you know, I mean, it's 500 miles opposite direction of where I'm. While you guys are fighting the bad guy, I suppose he will be guarding the women folk. Fuzzy. But that's kind of one of the things that I'm thinking. You know, like I said, my very first thought on that is if my bike's broke down. See that, and that's one of the things that you just. There's so many different scenarios here. Did the
See,
phone
I
system?
see a lot of people say, well, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I see a lot of people saying walking. How many of you guys have actually walked 5 miles? Do it every day for a week.
Yeah. To cover 800 miles you're looking to cover 800 miles on the road, you're looking at a minimum 2 months if you're in shape. That's if you got food and water.
You start getting off-road to hide, you got uphill, downhill, rough terrain, shoes falling apart, you got weather to deal with.
Yeah,
Man,
Don't forget, you're probably carrying at least a 10 or 12, maybe even a 15-pound bug out bag on your back as well. And you're
you
trying
have to be close to a water source. It depends on where you're at in the country. If you're in Arizona, you're fucked. I mean, you know,
yeah,
I mean, you got to be close to a water source. You got to be able to get food. I mean, you're talking, dude, 25 miles a day. That is a good pace. And you're talking flat, level ground with good walking shoes or boots. I always wear boots. 25 miles a day. That's a clip. I've done it. And you're moving, like legit moving. You can't sustain that pace for 2 months. You can sustain it for maybe a week, and then you're down for a week. Like legit, you're down. Like your knees don't work, your ankles don't work. You can't feel your toes. I mean, you can't sustain that pace nonstop for 800 miles. It's not doable. Now, if it was a 10 mile a day type deal, you're just doing 10 miles a day, yeah. But you're talking 3-4 months.
Yeah, that's one of the things you got to understand, because see, everybody has to understand this too. We're talking 4 or 5 days into shit hits the fan, and each day that you walk that however many miles you can make it in that particular day, that's an extra day into shit hits the fan. And it's not going to be that you just take off walking down the interstate. Walking down the interstate is a very bad idea. Very, very bad idea.
You're going to be off road. Promise you're going to twist your fucking ankle. You're going to roll your ankle. You're going to be, I mean, come on.
And you got to think, if I'm taking a trip that large in the first place, then it's summertime. So you're looking at, 90-degree temps, maybe even into the 100-degree temps on top of that. So you got to put that in factor too, Yeah, there's all kinds of little things that, you don't actually think about that are just like, oh, it's the small things that are going to kick your ass. It's not the big goal at the end. It's, it's all the little tiny things on the way to the big goal. That can make you.
What the hell is he talking about?
I have no idea. I can never halfway understand what he's saying, because the way he puts stuff out.
English is a prerequisite for this channel, Cherokee. It's got to be in complete sentences, and stop yelling.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done 2 100-mile road marches in the military with a load on my back. All right. It takes 4 days. And then you get minimum 48 to 72 hours just to recover so you can walk to the fucking bathroom. I mean, and we're talking about boots that were conditioned, for special road march boots that we broke in ourselves 3 days and that's with a Humvee full of water, the best, most high calorie dense foods we can eat just to be able to get there and be able to function. So you're going to start off with no water, a week's worth of food, and go 800 miles in riding boots, not walking boots, in riding boots.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Yeah, you're wearing boots. You ain't wearing Skechers memory foam. You're wearing freaking boots. You figure boots, and some
riding
leather.
boots are a whole lot different than hiking boots or leg boots in the military.
I was going to bring that up too. When you started talking about boots, I was sitting there thinking, man, most people. I mean, you do see some of them folks that have tennis shoes on when they're riding a bike, but that's not really most people that are going to be on the type of bike Hutch is talking about are probably going to have on some type of riding boots.
That's the only time I put shoes on.
Yeah,
you might have some shoes. Yeah, you might have some shoes in your in one of your bags or whatever, your saddle bags. But
if you're talking going 800 miles, if you're humping 800 miles, let's just say some magical fairy was flying behind you, giving you a drink of unicorn glitter laced magic water and food anytime you were hungry or thirsty, and all you had to do was walk 800 miles off road. Months. You're talking months. Literally months. 3, 4, maybe 5, maybe longer. It depends. You may roll an ankle and you're laid up underneath an oak tree, drinking that magical unicorn laced glitter water for a week till you can put weight back on your ankle. I mean, there's maybe you get chased by a bear or a coyote or a pack of wolves, depending on where you're at. All kinds of shit can go down when you're humping through the woods, because you don't want to be walking on the highway.
Well, and that's one of the things that I was going to bring up too a little bit ago, and we kind of got off into some other stuff. But when I was talking about the Topo maps and understanding the water resources that you have, and where you may not want to go this direction because there ain't a water resource for 20 miles, a good water resource. So you're going to want to take this direction, and then you're going to have to cut back this way. But that's something else that it's not real hard to kind of look up, and because 800 miles, good chance you're in another state, so you're gonna want to find out what kind of wildlife is in that state. Do they have bears? Do they have mountain lions? Do they, are there an abundance of rabbits? Things like that. These are kind of some of the stuff that, like I said, 20 years ago, probably a whole different scenario. Today, I'm going that far off. I'm going to have a game plan for my family, and I'm going to know where I'm going. I'm going to know multiple routes, how to get home. And, because like I said, maybe shit doesn't hit the fan while you go on this 800-mile trip, but there's a big storm front that comes through like it just did, and you may want to avoid a complete area because it's all tore up and you can't even get through there because of all the rescue trucks, and it's roads are blocked and stuff's tore up, power's down. You may want to avoid that spot anyway. So these are some of the things that I think you should be doing if you're going to be planning a trip that far away in today's time.
Another thing to consider too, if you're that far away, is if everything's, if cities are burning, you're walking past bodies, whether it will be randomly or hit and miss, if you see more than 2 bodies, then, shit's real. So you got to think all these people who had dogs who are now wild packs of, feral dogs just running around trying to get whatever they can get, So you've got to look out for that too. You could have 10 Rottweilers chasing you down the street while you're trying to siphon gas, Yeah.
It could get absolutely stupid. And if you're walking 800 miles, months, like several months off-road, oh my God. For every mile you travel off-road, you're adding the up and down and the left and right versus going in a straight line on the highway. I mean, yeah, it might be 800 miles straight line on the highway. Now, if you're going to shadow the highway, then yeah, you can stay pretty close to that, but you stand a really good chance of either. depending on how off-road what your route is and you have a map, you may actually shorten the distance a little bit by not following the highway, by going in a straight line.
So for most of the time, highways aren't a straight shot for the most part anyway.
Yeah.
So you'd be
they go city to city. Yeah.
Cutting across.
On a straight shot. You may turn the 800 miles into 650 miles by going straight off-road. But it's still
map miles are different than as the crow flies is a way better option than following this all the way around just to come back down because it's a smoother trip.
Now, are you in upstate New York heading back to Missouri or Arkansas, and you got to cross the Adirondack Mountains? You're humping, bro. You're man. You're doing some moves. You're getting a merit badge when you get home. I mean, you're doing some stuff. I know, I've done it, man. Ooh.
And then
you gotta also think, anybody who's ever rode a bike, if you've ever rode a bike for 300 miles straight, you can hardly walk to begin with, let alone doing that for however, you've been doing it for at least a week now if you're 4 days out, So you're already beat to shit. Your body's tore up because riding hurts. It hurts, especially that long. So you got to put that on top of, what you got to get through too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going back to one of my original ideas was, you know what? Maybe the smartest move, you've got to wait till you stretch it out and ration it and make it last 2 weeks if you really had to, if you can find water. Maybe the best thing to do is find a safe spot and just lay low for, a couple, 2-3 days, let things die down a little bit more, get some intel, try to get contact with home, find out what's going on, and then make an educated decision versus just hopping off your bike, throwing it in the ditch and take off, south on 85,
Well, that right there is the absolute point. If you don't have mapped out plans, if you don't understand the direction you're going, especially if you don't have a lot of experience in the woods, man, you could end up dang near back where you started.
Oh yeah. Don't just run off in the woods and not know where you're at.
Moss grows on the north side of a tree. Remember that. North side moss.
I mean, it's a hell of a scenario, man. It's a good one. It's a real good one. No wonder it took you 3 weeks to get it in.
I'm just lazy.
That's what I was telling Backwoods earlier. I'm like, you threw in the day 4 of SHTF just to fuck me up because that goes fast. If you got about 3 days, you can make some big moves. After day 4, it's like, woo, it's gonna hurt.
And another thing, the horse thing is an option, but that goes back to knowing yourself. Like me, I'm not messing with no damn horse. I'm walking before I'm touching a horse because I can't ride a horse and they freak me the hell out. So I already know, even if I get 20 miles down the road and I freak out and this thing jumps back and I get knocked out on a freaking tree, then I'm laid up for that much more time. So if you can handle that, then don't try it. I mean, or risk reward.
One thing about horses, if they freak you out, then you're freaking them out.
Yep.
Yeah. So you ain't gonna get on a horse. If you're freaked out about a horse, that's not even an option because he ain't even gonna let you get up there. Yeah. And he damn sure ain't gonna let you be in charge. He might let you up there, but you ain't calling the shots.
I mean, I'll pet him and everything, but after that, no, we're good. That's too damn big.
Horses are better than dogs at figuring out if you're scared or not. If you ain't a horse guy, I wouldn't even go there.
Yeah, see, that's the whole thing is that
you talk about day 1. You're doing that like a week before shit hits the fan. It's like I read a Facebook title, time to get to work.
Right. Well, one thing you do got to understand is that it's what did you plan before you left? How did you make sure before you leave? Like I said, we're not talking 20 years ago. We're talking in today's time, man. I mean, you see all this stuff going on overseas. You see, I read an article 2 days ago. They were saying that Putin is saying he's pointing some stuff right at us, and he's like, I'm about to send it. Man. I mean, dude, think if New York, somewhere like that, actually did get hit by a nuke. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's so many different options that you need to think about in today's time. One of the things that, like I said, this whole pre-plan thing, and it is, to me, it's the most important part of a whole trip is the whole pre-plan. Hey, family, look, I'm going to be gone. Man, if something breaks off, something goes down, bam, this is what happens. I need y'all to do this. I need y'all to be ready for this. Don't worry about me. I will be on my way. It may take me a month to get home, but I'm coming. You know what I'm saying? If I ain't here in a month, if you don't hear from me in 2 weeks, do this. You know what I'm saying? There does need to be some pre-planning going on. That's my personal opinion.
Right.
I know it, a lot of people's like, well, man, that's a lot of stuff. Well, imagine yourself 800 miles from your house and the balloon goes up, shit goes off. It's a bad deal. Imagine the thought process in your head, because see, this is another part where I talk about preparing your mind properly, and all else will fall into place. Because if you're not prepared for that scenario, when you do get 800 miles, now see, you may be in a panic situation. You're panicking because you're like, man, I didn't tell my family. I can't get a hold of my family. I don't know what they're doing. And that's when you start panicking, you start making a lot of bad mistakes. What are y'all grinning about?
Reading the chat.
Yeah.
Oh.
Lele on the bayou's talking stuff.
You told him to grab the main, hop on, be a man. You know what, Hutch? Now that I have to think about it, probably what you need to do in this situation is just call an Uber.
Right.
Just get an Uber. Have them take you home. There's way too much work involved in this. Just call an Uber.
I could always hitchhike. Hike my thing up, show some knee.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I rode a horse once back in the day in Kansas City. They had there's a horse ranch out where they used to be behind the dog track over in the Kansas side. If anybody knows Kansas City, but they had a horse ranch up there, and they would rent the horses. So we went in there and we rented. I think there was 4 of us. We rented horses. They go down in this cornfield, right? You got to go down the hill, past the guy's house, and into a cornfield, and it takes you into the woods. We get to the woods. We're like the 3rd tree in. This damn horse rears back out of nowhere. And I'm like, nope. I grab a tree and that son bitch takes off. So I'm sitting in the woods. I'm walking back to the barn. I get to the house. I see he's got 2 big ass Rottweilers sitting in his front yard at his house. So I'm sitting in the woods for like 4 hours just waiting for these damn dogs to go around back so I can run my ass back up this hill. I ain't doing it with horses, man. Nope.
101 ain't right. Well, that again, guys, pre-plan. If you got to go on a trip, if you have to, I mean, for me, I pretty much told my family ain't no more vacations and stuff for a while. We'll go to the in-laws, or go here and there, some stuff that might not take us more than a day or 2 to get home, but we're not planning anything for a while. It's just, I don't know, man.
I got to ride.
I ain't been more than 5 miles from my house in the last 4 months. When I get in the vehicle, I've got my Camelback rucksack. I got 2 gallons of water in it, a couple of reloads, a couple changes of socks, an MRE main meal. I can do that 5 miles standing on my head to get home. Yes, if I go any further than that, there's a get home bag, bug out bag, whatever you want to call it. It's gonna have a week's worth of stuff. But if I do go further than that, I'm gonna do my best to plan it out. But I don't really need to go any further than that. I don't ride anymore, so I wish I did, but I don't. But it is what it is.
So it comes back to pretty much know your equipment. If you've got a camper, if you've got a bike, learn everything you possibly can about what you're putting, your livelihood in the hands of.
And that was my main reason about saying going to the town and get parts. I mean, is it what the mechanical failure? Did you know what failed and can you fix it? That's the key. If you knew what failed and you can fix it, go get the part and fix it. If you didn't and you don't know what's wrong with it, leave it in the ditch and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's absolutely a good point of what y'all are talking about, and here with what Prepping Outside the Box is saying. You know, this is why we keep talking about practice your preps, practice doing this stuff. You know, go out each day. I keep, talking about go outside, because look, you driving a car, let's just say you're in a car and you're 800 miles from your place and your vehicle goes down, shit goes down, it's bad, you may have to hoof it for a while. And if you ain't used to hoofing it, that 2-3 months that it might take you on a normal might take you 5 months to get home, because you start walking and you're like, crap, especially you're trying to carry, 15 pounds worth of stuff on your back, you're like, man, okay, I'm not as in good a shape as I thought I was,
and that's with, say you're perfect health, say you can pull, say you can do all that. The mental side of it is still, though, are these people coming to kill me? Is somebody behind that car? See, every step of the way is paranoia. The mental affects the physical, which wears you down that much more on top of it. So,
right.
Just because you walked 12, 13, 20 miles, 20, 30 years ago, can you do it today? And that's the difference. Could you do it right now?
Here's that too. You're talking about the mental aspect of it. All right. All this stuff happened in your scenario. You got to go 800 miles and you're going on foot. Well, day one, you're jacked up. You're excited. You got to get there. You're going to walk way further than you should. You're going to overextend your body's ability to regenerate itself while you rest and sleep at night. So instead of only going 10, 12, maybe 15 miles, you're going to push it and go 20 or 25 because you get numb after the first 10 miles and you turn into a zombie and you just keep walking. Now you're doing damage to your joints and your body. You're going to hump, 25 miles a day. You might do it the first day. The second day, you're not even going to be able to get out of the ditch. You're going to lay there. You're going to destroy your body because you're not going to know how to pace yourself because your adrenaline's going to be jacked up. Your emotions are involved. You're going to roll your fucking ankle. You're going to end up dying of thirst or hunger laying there because you can't physically get up and do the things you need to do to move because you destroy your body. People are so excited and they just go out there and do all this crazy stuff and then they try to perform beyond their means. Instead of trying to do, 30 miles a day, accept 10. Go 10 and go at a good pace where you're not hurting yourself so you can do 10 miles every single day. Instead of stretching it to 30 miles the first day, now you're down for 3 days. So now you're 10 miles in the hole when you start back again.
Another thing, too, if you're stuck on these things, you run out of cigarettes, you're walking around without cigarettes for 2 or 3 days. On top of all that, then you got the mental stress of that. You're freaking out, having a nick fit. All these little things add up. Every little thing adds up.
But people are going to freak and they're going to get up and they're going to go out that way 100 miles. They're going to start jogging, like for real, legit. They're not going to start out of they're not going to tighten up their laces correctly. They're not going to start out at a comfortable pace where they're just walking. They're going to start jogging. They're going to try to make up time. It's 800 fucking miles. What kind of time are you going to make up? You got to go 800 miles. Now you're off-road. You're not on the street. The worst thing you can do is roll your ankle. Or better yet, blow out a knee, blow out an ACL or something, trip and fall. Now you're screwed. So instead of taking, you need to be happy with 10 miles a day.
Well, these two comments right here actually go really hand in hand. Training every day, doing something, getting out, going hiking, doing these things like I said before, and I've said, there's all kinds of hiking trails all over every state. They have them. All these state parks, they have hiking trails. Go out and learn your abilities, get used to being able to do these things and training, and it test your mental strength, because you get over there and you look and you're like, man, I've got to still walk all the way down there, all the way up on that mountainside, all the way back down around. Test your mental strength. Be like, I've got this. I can do this. And go ahead and get that hike in. Maybe it takes you a little extra time to do it. That's fine. Stop and rest on the way if you need to. But doing that, and then this right here goes hand in hand with the training every day. It's about what each individual is comfortable with. Last thing anyone needs to do in SHTF is getting hurt. So know your own abilities. And that's where getting out and training, you learn the abilities that you have. You know, you can sit around and say, oh man, you know, I can't do this, I can't do that. You'd be surprised at what you can do if you put your mind to it. The other thing is you go out there and you find out for sure what you can and can't do. Can I really jump from this rock to that rock over there? No, I can't. I know I can't do that, so I'm not going to try that when SHTF happens, because you have been doing that training. You have been doing these things that are necessary beforehand, so that when SHTF happens, you're already in a heightened state of mental stress. Like Hutch was saying, man, if you smoke, or you're used to having coffee every day, maybe now you can't have coffee for a week. I've heard people that gets pissed off when they don't have coffee for the first couple of hours they're awake. I mean, they get grumpy as hell. Think about these things, guys. You know, these are going to be things that are very important.
I got a true story for you. You ready for this? And this fits perfectly into this scenario. This is a true story that happened to me. I don't think I've ever told anybody this story. Back in after 9/11, when I decided to reenlist and go back in the Army, you know, I was pissed off, jacked up. You know, when I was first in the service, I was in 10th Mountain Division, upstate New York. We walked everywhere. I could go 25, 30, 35 miles a day with a pack. We do that every week. I was good. You know, a few years later, I decided to go back in the military. I was still in good shape. I lifted weights every day. You know, I was in great shape in my mind. All right. But it was a different kind of being in shape. You know, I worked every day. I did, you know, physical labor. But when I decided to go back in the military, my brain reverted back to the military. And I'm like, I got my rucksack and everything. I got to go humping. I was out running. I was doing, 3-4 miles a day. I'm humping. I'm going nuts. Dude, I blew out both my Achilles tendons. I was on the shelf for 3 fucking months because my brain said, no, this is how we do it. And I was used to doing it that way. And I mean, now we're talking, I was still in my early 30s. I was in great shape. And I blew out both my Achilles tendons. Let me tell you something. If the balloon goes up and you're 800 miles from home and you want to get home to your family, you're going to blow out some shit. And let me tell you something. It wasn't that I was laid up for 3 months because that's what the doctor told me to. It was 3 months before I could physically get up and fucking walk to the mailbox. Dude, I blew out both my Achilles tendons. That means my feet don't function. Yeah. So, I mean, and this literally happened to me in great shape, walking every day, working in the warehouse, lifting weights, doing the whole 9 yards. But I went out there and I started running and road marching, and I overdone it way beyond what I should have done, because in my mind, it was 6 years prior and I was in awesome shape and I'm used to doing this every day, but I wasn't. It had been 6 years. And it completely, dude, but if I was in the wood line in an SHTF situation, I had to go 800 miles. Hell, if I had to go 80 miles, I would die in the woods, because literally, unless I blew my shit out laying by a creek and the fish jumped out of the pond into my frying pan, I would die. I would have died right there. Period.
And you got to also think too, with your body going through that much physical exertion, especially if you're low on water. Say you go 2 days straight without water. Each step is just a cramp to every muscle from your waist down. You got to, you might be laid up for 4 or 5 days just rubbing knots out of your out of your calf or out of your thigh, just because you can't get that water. I mean, the catch-22 is you see the water there, but it's going to take you 2 days to get to it, because you can't physically take them steps. Otherwise, little things like that too. Your body.
That's a perfect example of how somebody in great shape, blew my shit up on day one and died in the fucking woods because I was motivated. But I wasn't smart, and completely blew my shit up on day one.
Right.
And that's what would happen. I wasn't even off road, man. I was on the street in running shoes, on the way you're supposed to do it. but I overextended myself because I was excited, jacked up, and motivated, and completely shot all 4 tires out from underneath the vehicle.
Well, that's exactly what I was getting at, Ghost, with a while ago about the heightened state that you're going to be in, because shit's hit the fan, man. I mean, you're probably not going to sleep well, so you got to take that into consideration also, because you're gonna try to think you've got a really good hiding spot, and you hear a noise at night, you're gonna wake up.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like, what was that? You're gonna make sure somebody ain't trying to creep up on you, and so your sleep is not going to be as well. So you're going to your body's automatically going to be more tired because you're not getting the rest you need. Plus you're doing the extra exertion of walking all this time. You have to take into consideration, like Hutch said, are you going 2 days or 3 days before you're getting some water again, water intake? Now you're cramping, as well. So it may take you longer, because now, if it's 100 degrees outside and the humidity is freaking 40-50%, let me tell you something. You're not going to be able to breathe well when you're doing this type of hike. And when you're in the woods, if there's no breeze, man, it sucks, because there's no breeze and it's freaking hot and humid. The bad thing about it is you get back on the road, you try to go on the road, now you got the heat of the road, the asphalt. I mean, I've seen you can go out there and stand on the right day when the sun's been shining all day long. You can go out there and stand on the road for a little bit in some tennis shoes, and the soles on your shoes will start melting. So you really don't have a good option there. When it's hot, it's hot. So these are the kind of things that you're going to have to understand.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking, hey, here's a situation, I got to go 800 miles on foot. Look, okay, that's cool. But let's not be, I mean, it's unrealistic to think you're going to get there quick on foot. If you can get conveyance, whether it's a vehicle, a bike, an animal, whatever, yeah, you might make up some time. But if you know you're going on foot, go ahead and plan on 5 to 6 months, and you're just going to leisurely enjoy the view and get there as quick as you can without destroying your body. And it's going to depend on how old you are, your water, your food.
Okay, well, here's another thing, then. Do you travel during day or night? You figure during the daytime, you got the hot sun, you're open, exposed. At nighttime, though, you figure most of the criminal element would be living a nightlife and not a day life. So you'd have more danger from other people at nighttime, but you have the elements to deal with during the daytime. What's the better
you've got
option?
elements, and also you've got wildlife to deal with too. So depending on where you're at, I mean, the smart move is daytime because you can see shit, but it's going to depend on where you're at, what part of the country. I mean, are you literally in the middle of friggin' nowhere, or are you, it's kind of populated? You got to cross a driveway every 2 or 3 miles, that kind of thing, or are you like legit, in the middle of nowhere? If you're like legit in the middle of nowhere, I don't know, man. That's a 50-50 call. It depends on the time of the year and how good you feel about walking through the woods in the dark. I mean, that's when you can really roll an ankle and do some damage.
Yeah, not to mention you walk up on a mama bear with cubs, that mountain lion sitting up in a tree, that you can't see, but it knows.
A bobcat can tear your ass up with that, and you wouldn't,
Hell, piss
you
off
sit
a
down
raccoon.
Yeah.
Piss off one of them 30-pound raccoons. Jesus Christ. I'm probably going to go with daytime because most of the idiots out there in the middle of nowhere ain't got nods. I mean, they don't have night vision. I'd probably stay with daytime and try to get some rest at night, unless I'm in somewhere like fucking Arizona. If I got to cross Death Valley, I mean, that's a nighttime move there.
Situation, if this was like my real situation, the practical thing would probably be like, say I'm stuck outside of Denver trying to get home to Missouri. That would probably be the most logical situation for that scale in my situation. Somewhere in that range.
You actually just brought up a good point that, or at least you brought something up that just made me think of something. Is the state that you're going through, is it a big weapons state? Is it one that you know, I mean, you got a lot of hunters and stuff in Colorado, but then you don't have a lot, you know, the different laws and everything in the different states that you're going through. You know, there's some places that they don't even allow you to carry a gun outside of your home. You know, there's a lot of this stuff that you can take into consideration as well. You know, of course, then again, you know, you're talking about without rule of law, so I guess at that point it's probably not going to matter too much.
Yeah.
You know? But I'm just thinking. Well, I almost hate to say this, but I'm thinking SHTF without rule of law, shit's went down. It's bad. Cities are burning everywhere. Things are horrible. I'm 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 doing what's necessary to get home. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
You know, I'm jacking a car. Um, if I can hide and be sneaky enough, and somebody walks by and I see they've got a gun on their side, you know, I might club that joker in the head and take his gun and be gone. You know, not try to kill him or nothing, but just knock him out for a little bit, and you know, I'm out. You know, now I've got a gun. Now I've just increased my odds of survival. You know, and I'm out. You know, I'm getting out of there. You know, I don't know. You know, there's a lot of things that I think a lot of people may sit here right now and say, oh man, I wouldn't do that. I couldn't do that. You put yourself back in that situation when you're off in a SHTF. You know, I mean, like I said, you're trying to get home to your family. Cities are burning everywhere. I'm gonna say that, you know, you're probably going to do more things than you think you would normally do.
I tell you what, now that I've had time to really think about it and let it all soak in and really stew on it, if this situation happened to me, Hutch, I would definitely take that week's worth of food that I have and I would turn it into at least 2 weeks worth of food, because I would reduce my calorie need by like 50%, because I would be lethargic as shit. I would find me a safe spot somewhere and let the numbers thin each other out. I would let the low hanging fruit get picked, because everybody has something. You know what I mean? Everybody's got a little bit of food, a little bit of water, a gun, some ammo, a map, something. I would let the numbers thin themselves out. I would probably hang close to the highway, because that's where the most of the people are going to be. And then I would basically turn into a vulture. I would go scavenge and get what I need to do, because now the number of obstacles that I have to contend with are reduced probably by a factor of 20 or 30. You know what I mean? Let all that craziness happen. I'm going to sit back in the nosebleed seats and watch,
Right.
and then make a strategic move. Let all that craziness happen, and then try to blow through it.
Yeah, but still, he's saying it's already 4 or 5 days into it, and like I said, you know, your first day when it breaks down, you got to understand the first thing. Like I said, the first thing I'm doing is I'm hitting the biggest patch of woods I can find, and I'm hiding out.
That's what I just
And
said.
yeah, but I'm saying that very first day, all I'm getting at is that I don't know that I would stay there, you know, because my point is I think as it gets into it, I think people become more organized. Gangs become more organized. They get more. People get more desperate as each day passes that things ain't fixed. You know, people in general are going to get more desperate. You know, I just, to me, I think I'm hoofing it as far as I can towards my house as long as I can for the first 3 or 4 days. Then I might decide to, you know, I'm still trying to gather intel as I'm doing this, and
Well,
then
we're already on day 4.
right,
Right.
exactly. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It you know, I'm thinking I'm gonna keep going as long and hard as I can, and get as close, you know, more distance towards my house as much as possible, because each day that passes, I just feel it's going to get worse.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but
I
you
mean,
gotta also look though. If you're pushing that hard, what if you say you push a 20 or 25 mile day and you're just physically your ass is whooped. You get to that end mark, and then you've got to deal with, say you got a roadblock or a security check or something up here that you've got to deal with while you're physically exhausted. So do you push for that? Do you go for 20 and push for that extra 5, or do you stay that way? You've still got some energy at night in case you have to get up and go do something. Because if you're wore out, you can make up the shit.
I think I'm gonna play chess. I'm gonna find me a good safe spot with a really good intel gap where I can see a whole lot. I'm gonna chill, and I'm gonna turn my week's worth of food into 2 or 3 weeks worth of food by seizing a moment and scavenging a little bit and just chilling. I'm gonna let the numbers. If I've got to go from here to there, and there's 10,000 people in between me and there on day 1, and I can wait it out for 7 days, that 10,000 probably dropped down to about 6,500. You know what I mean? So I have less obstacles to deal with as long as I can keep bringing in supplies and food and things like that, because there's going to be a lot of stuff laying around when people start dropping. Everybody's got something.
Okay, well, what if I'm on the opposite side of the city? I either have to go directly through the city, because that's the direction I'm going, either straight through the heart of the city, or do I go all the way around the city? Some of these cities, it could take you 3 or 4 days to completely walk around a city just to get back to the other side.
We're talking about someplace like Atlanta or DC.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm for sure going around that shit. Like, for real. I'll add an extra week to my travel times, because the chances of going through Atlanta are pretty. I don't know, man. I might skirt the outsides or something, but unless I had a vehicle, I don't know, man, because the roads are going to be impassable. Yeah, I would definitely. I don't think I'd go anywhere near a city, especially if I'm on foot. It ain't gonna happen.
That's another point. Again, I'm gonna bring up the gangs. Atlanta, places like that. You may end up in a bad area before you realize it. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're trying to sneak through and you're trying to get on through there and everything, and all of a sudden you're like, "Uh-oh, I'm not in that great of a place." What I'm getting at. It can happen really quick. I know in Little Rock, there's some really nice neighborhoods, and you go 3 blocks that away, and it's a shithole.
Yeah, man, I miss
Little
Rock.
It's a place you do not want to be after dark. I
miss Man, there's places in Little Rock you don't want to ride through in a tank. For real.
Right.
I miss me some Little Rock. But
also think to see, like, Kansas City city limits. Kansas City proper is only 500,000 people, but you've got Lee Summit, Raytown, Independence, Blue Springs, Olathe.
Yeah.
So you've literally got a giant, suburban fucking circle that you've got to go around. So if you take the wrong road, you could end up in the middle of the suburbs and never even know it. Like, if you're going to Chiefs Stadium, you'll go through some woods. There's places you can go through the woods and you'll never even know you're in the city, up in Independence. Then boom, you pop out and you're on the highway, and boom, you're right in the middle of everything.
Yeah. And then you've also got the other option that maybe everybody flees the city. So maybe the smartest move might be to blow right through downtown.
Yeah.
If you look at it that way. It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. That's why I said I'm going to find me a good spot to watch. I'm going to get as much intel as I can. I'm going to watch the numbers thin out, let the low-hanging fruit get plucked, and then I'm going to make a chess move, man. I'm going to watch other people do dumb shit, and I'm going to do something smart. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to gather all the intel I can. I'm going to maximize my supplies, and when all the things that can possibly be good for me are as good as I think they can get, then I'll move.
See, I'd never, in any kind of shit hits the fan situation, I'm staying away from train tracks. It's an automatic homeless hobo highway. It's rape, death, all kinds of nasty stuff going on train tracks. Now, when it's night, imagine when there's
whoever's trying to take over anything, they're using the train tracks. Like, whoever's coming in and they're going to establish whatever form of government or any kind of supply lines or any kind of anything, they're going to use the railheads, period.
Yeah, stay away from those train yards and stuff.
Absolutely. That's the one place
Yeah.
you do not want to fucking go.
Yeah, I'll tell you this right now. I have a uncle that is pretty much been a hobo his whole life. Does stuff like that. Hits ride on train cars. Hits them old hobo camps and stuff. And I'm gonna tell you that joker will cut your throat in a heartbeat. For if he thinks you got $10 on you, he'll cut your throat in a heart. He is a cutthroat joker, man. So yeah, I would definitely stay away from stuff like that. Yeah, the railways might be a good place to get supplies. Yeah, but I'm gonna say that once without rule of law, them hobos, they're gonna be living it up like kings, and it's not probably gonna be a good safe place to be.
Yeah, I mean,
Even now, if you go out to the middle of the woods, even some of these small ass towns, all the tweakers go out and hit the train tracks. You know, that's there's not good people on train tracks.
plus you also got to understand that the military, every single National Guard armory in the country is located either on, right beside, or very, very close to a railhead. That's how they move troops. That's how they move equipment. That's how they move armor. Every military base in the United States of America is close to a railhead. They have their own. Okay. So whatever force is doing whatever the hell it is they're doing that's going on during this stuff, they're going to be right there on the railhead with the criminals. There's going to be more freedom seeds getting thrown on the railroad tracks than anywhere else in the country. More than likely, they're going to be planting gardens up and down the tracks, like for real. That's
because if you got trains going through hauling who knows what freight, crime doesn't have to have a reason. It's just opportunity. You're going to have people.
Absolutely.
Let's see what's in those cars, and they're going to, they're going to start some shit.
Yeah, I think I want to stick with my original answer. I'm going to lay low. I'm going to stretch that week's worth of supplies. I'm going to gain intel. I'm going to watch the numbers thin out, and I'm going to make a chess move.
So what I've concluded so far is that the best case scenario would be in that situation, chill out for about 2 days, let my body recuperate, get ready for the travel that I'm about to do, and just pray I come across the mountain bike or something.
Well, the thing is, 800 miles might as well be 8,000 miles when you're on foot.
Right.
Like 800 is 8,000. I mean, your best case scenario is to, you got to worry about you at this point. I mean, you got to establish your ability to function on a day-to-day basis and be able to motivate and move. And basically, I mean, it could come down to a thing to where you're like, you're hopping from mag to mag or group to group or you know what I mean? I mean, you're to 800 miles. It might as well be 8,000. I mean, you're talking 8 months to get home. 6 to 8 months on foot, at least minimum, because you got to go slow.
Yeah, I don't carry a gun, and despite how many guns are out there, there's more non-gun owners than there are gun owners. So having a gun is not always the I mean, it's not everybody has a gun, so it's not an option for most people. Actually, it's not an option. At least not to carry one everywhere with them like that.
Well, and I have to be honest with you. I carry a gun everywhere I go, including when I go to the bathroom to sit down and take a poop. I have a gun around me everywhere I go, period. When I'm sitting on the couch watching TV with my wife, on my end table right there next to me is a gun. And like I said, when I go take a shower, there's a gun sitting there. When I drive down to the local convenience store to get a snacky cake and a Coke, I have a gun on my side. So myself, Japhet, I wouldn't be caught that far away. If I go that far away, I probably got 2 or 3 guns on me, at least 2, and backup mags, things like that. So, there's difference in each person. So this is a different scenario for me because I'll be honest with you, Hutch. When I first read that, I'm thinking, well, why you only got a knife? Why ain't you got a gun? Because that's how I am. You know what I'm saying? That's just me.
Here's the thing. I mean, coyotes. Everybody knows what a coyote is. They're a pain in the fucking ass. They're everywhere. and they multiply like fucking rabbits. They can't fight. They're not badass, but they keep multiplying. Why? They're smart, bro. They sit back and they watch shit and they wait. They make a chess move and they go in. They're like a thief in the night, man. The boom. They take shit from wolves. They take shit from grizzly bears. They're just there. You know what I mean? In an SHTF situation, that's kind of what you need to be. You don't need to be the big bad grizzly. You don't need to be the big bad wolf. You need to be that sneaky little motherfucking coyote that's fat and happy, eating all your shit. You know what I mean? Just
yeah. Not everything calls for a Rambo situation. You try to be Billy Badass with one guy, people 6 blocks down the road hear the gunfire. Next thing you know, you got 30 guys surrounding you. Wow, you were tough for 10 minutes. Now you're dead.
You need to be that sneaky coyote that nobody's scared of. That just kind of just sit back and watch and wait and make your move. And that's what I plan on doing, man. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to gather intel. I'm just going to figure things out. I'm going to maximize my supplies, increase what I can, and when the time's right, fucking move out. I mean, you may have left a week ahead of me. I'll probably catch you, 2 weeks down the road, and I'll be fat. Maybe ride a motorcycle. I don't know. But I'm just not in a rush. 800 miles out, I'm not in a rush. 800 miles out, I am not in a rush. Getting there in a hurry is just not an option.
Talking about always having a knife on you.
Knife for every occasion.
I normally, I mean, if you find me without 2 knives, something's wrong. I've usually got 3. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. The whole thing with the gun deal for me, like I said, I'm hitting the woods. Okay. If I'm traveling that far, one of my guns is going to be a 22. Less quiet. I mean, it's quieter. It's you can carry more rounds. It'll still kill something that you need to kill, things like that. I'm not going to be out there walking down the road, with my chest bowed out, just walking down there because I got a gun on my side. I'm still going to be, like somebody just said, what I was going to bring up was I'm going to be gray man. I'm going to be in the woods. I'm going to be sneaking from here to there. There's going to be parts that you're probably going to have to just walk through like nonchalantly. Don't be looking around, staring at everything. Just walk through, and
you got to keep in mind too that some of those neighborhoods, like the town that's closest to me, it's only got like 30 houses in it. It's the entire town. So
right.
Whether it be race, the way somebody's dressed, something, if they're not from here and they just come walking down the street, everybody in town is going to look at them like, what the hell? So you're automatically bringing that attention to you, especially in these small towns when you got those, these good old boys, they grew up together. They know if you're not supposed to be there, So
right.
You got to if you want to cut through even a small town, you've got that to be, pay attention to too. I mean, you never know who's going to be a dick.
And the lost product actually had a good point here. A lot of people, oh yeah, I'm cool, I'm badass, I'm this, and that, and the other, until you've seen somebody get blown apart or shot or get dispatched in a horrible, horrible way, you don't know how you're going to react. So when the world's coming apart at the seams, and after 72 hours in the Georgia sun, there's an aroma. You don't know what you're gonna do. You don't know how you're gonna act. You don't know how who's gonna lose their fucking mind and who's not. That's why I'm telling you right now, I'm sticking my plan, bro. I'm finding a safe spot and I'm a fucking fly on the wall. I'm gonna watch shit. I'm gonna take notes and I'm gonna move out when it makes sense.
Another thing too is if you're walking. So we established it's summertime. You got a hell of a long walk that just sucks. Say you're about 2 weeks into it, you know how funky your ass is going to be? You got swamp ass, pits are kicking, you ain't brushed your teeth. So, I know some of y'all have been next to these people in Walmart or, dollar store, and you can smell them from 10 fucking aisles away. You know what I mean?
Shit, anybody that had a 14-year-old son knows that.
Right. So imagine that. Imagine how funky and uncomfortable and chafed you are. You stink. You could taste your own stink. It's that crazy. So imagine if you're trying to sneak around somebody or sneak up on somebody. If you're not downwind, that can literally cost you your life just by having swamp ass. So that's something to look into. And, think about too, because people can actually smell you. And if it's, anybody who's ever been out in the woods, you just catch a random faint smell out of nowhere that's different. And it catches your attention. And it's, the same situation.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
That was a really good scenario. I mean, it really was. And now you've kicked it up a notch, so everybody else is going to be throwing all this crazy shit at us. But we've since we started this contest, or I did with my 1,000 subscriber thing, I think we've got like 6 months worth of content built up.
Job security, man.
Huh?
Job security.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we got a whole lot of scenarios coming down the pipe.
Yeah, I think that's another good point right there, Hutch, is to bring up the fact of, that's another reason why I say about, knowing your water sources in between and knowing the layout of the land in between you and your house, because you're not going to want to go that many days without bathing some way or another. You know what I'm saying? At least getting in some water and kind of washing off some, because you are going to start getting swamp ass. The thing about it is back in the old days, people probably went, a week without, took a bath once a week. People today are not used to that. And in the general population, people are used to, taking a shower every day or at least once every couple of days. You know what I'm saying? So when you start talking 5-6 days, you're out there in mosquitoes and then, and you're building structures, you're sleeping, dude, you're not going to be the cleanest. Lost product. I'm not talking about military people. Not everybody. What I'm saying is not everybody has went that long.
If you got to go 800 miles, the only logistically smart way to do it is to stick close to a water source. Period. I mean, you're going to be within probably a football field's length of some kind of water source, if at all possible, the entire time. You got to be able to get to it every single day, especially during the heat of the day. That's when you're going to jump in that bad boy and cool off and wash your fellas and, at least give them a good rinse and then, and continue on. You have to move with the water because you can't survive without it. Yeah, I mean, you can go a couple of weeks without food. You're not going to make it more than a couple of days if you're on the move without a readily accessible, clean water supply. I mean,
if you're tracking 20 miles a day, you need at least 2 gallons of water a day if it's over 90 degrees, at least.
My size, I'm 240. What are you, Hutch?
240.
Okay, we're going to need probably close to 3 to 4 gallons a day because we're going to be sucking it down, bro. We're going to be sweating our asses off.
And that's just to maintain. That's not to boost.
That's just to function. That's just to stay hydrated. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I right now just sedimentary in my house, just messing around in the basement, building rabbit cages and stuff. I'm fucking up a gallon a day, easy. Just drinking, easy. If I'm out sweating, humping during the summertime, probably 3 gallons. I can seriously see myself putting down 3 gallons a day. I've already had a heat stroke when I was in Panama, so I put down some water when it's hot. I have to. Yeah, I mean, if it's like in the fall or spring or something and the temperatures are like in the 50s, 60s, 70s, no higher than that, you can do a lot of movement on a gallon and a half, maybe 2 gallons a day. But if you're heat and you're sweating and you're humping, oh yeah, I would put the number at least 3 just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, all the little things, man. There's so many different little things that are gonna, play a part in your survival. Most of it's mental and just being able to think outside of the box.
But it's like the only thing, like when I read scenario fighting you had, and you had a week's worth of food, how much water did you have?
See, none.
Yeah, that's the thing. So you're starting at zero. I don't care how much food you have no fucking water. Like legit, if like you got to pick one thing to prep, it should just be water. That gives you time to go get the rest of the stuff you need. If you don't have water, you got 3 fucking days to get everything you need, including water. You know what I mean? And I mean, water is 8.33 pounds per gallon. So if we're gonna need 3 gallons a day to hump, bro, that's 25 pounds on your back.
Yep.
If you're not on a water, if you're not, walking beside a water stream.
Yeah, and then you got to figure out how you're going to filter that water. So you've got that on top of that too. See? So many things that could go wrong. That's why slow and steady wins the race.
Yep, slow and steady. That's why my Sawyer Mini, it's gravity fed. It's got the bag, so where you can just fill it up, have it on your ruck, let it filter while you're walking. So you ain't got to stop and waste the time purifying it. You can just dunk it, fill the bag up, put it on there, rock and roll.
Yeah, I think that everybody needs to understand, man, that right there, New York Outcast just said, you still got the tag on your boot. Did you buy stuff and you still got tags on them? Have you used them? Do you know what you're doing with them? Do you actually know how to use a ferro rod? I watched a man try to do a ferro rod without scratching it up first. He couldn't get the thing to spark for nothing. That's because it has a coating on it. You got to knock the coating off first. Exactly.
Yes.
He was sitting there. He was like, how come I can't get this thing to spark? I had somebody tell me they thought you were supposed to use the sharpened part of your knife blade, the edge of your knife blade.
Broken in. These are really broken in. These were issued to me in 04. I wear them every day, and they were issued to me in 04. Still got
I got a pair of those from the surplus store. Those are the most comfortable boots I've ever worn in my fucking life, man.
These were issued to me in 2004. And I wear them every. These things have probably got 3,000 miles on them. No shit. I wear them every day.
Yeah, but that's the thing, all this stuff. Like I said, you see people do this stuff online, and they're like, fire going. You're like, oh yeah, that's easy. Well, if you ain't done it yourself, like I said, I seen somebody trying to use the edge of their knife and they're scraping it. I mean, it works. You're going to get a spark, but the problem is you're dulling the piss out of your knife too. And if you catch it wrong, you could break the little edge, make a chip in your knife, and your knife is, it takes longer to sharpen one and sharpen that chip out of it so that your knife works properly. And there's a lot of this stuff that training and actually using this stuff is very important. Very important.
Yeah. So, don't overlook the small stuff, guys. Don't worry about getting all that big crazy shit. Get all that small stuff that can literally save your life.
Big stuff. Really cool things you should always have in your bug out bag is a magnifying glass and several Ziploc bags, because you can start a fire with a magnifying glass, and you can break it. All you gotta do is put some water in a Ziploc bag. Have you seen somebody start a fire with a Ziploc bag and water?
I think I seen a video on it a couple months ago.
Dude, it was so awesome. I gotta try it. But he filled it up with water and twisted it where it's real, almost to the point where it breaks, and you're compressing the water in the corner of the Ziploc bag, and it makes a prism, and you can actually start a fire. Like the water in the Ziploc bag, you can actually do it with the urine, they said, and it'll make a prism. And if you get the angle right, you can use it like a magnifying glass.
I've seen it done with a water bottle where they've done it like that.
Yeah.
Get that beam.
But yeah, this guy did it with a Ziploc bag full of water.
Well, them are little things that you're going to have to understand if you're traveling that far. in today's time, there's going to be a lot of places you're going to be able to get certain things. There's going to be a lot of bad stuff going on. There's going to be people wanting to get out of the city as much as there's going to be people that want to stay there. You know, they're thinking, I'm gonna stay here and tough it out, or I'm gonna stay here because I'm with this gang, or I'm gonna stay here because of that. You know, and again, you know, if someone like in my town, you know, someone passes through, it's not necessarily that you got to worry about. You know, I'm not just going to go start shooting people. You know what I'm saying? Just because they're passing through my town now, I might, you know, I might kind of stay back for a good ways and use my binoculars and follow them and watch what they do. And as long as they're passing through, cool. You know, there's no problem. So you don't have to necessarily worry too much about the good old boy syndrome. And you may even find someone like me that sees you walking through, and I realize this is what you're doing. You're trying to get home. Man, I might hit you up with a couple of bottles of water. You know what I'm saying? And give you a little thing of food, man. Keep going, you know. You know,
the thing is going to come down to is you're going to have to rely on the help of strangers at some point, because there's no way in hell you'd be able, unless you're just the luckiest person in the world, there's no way in hell you'd make it 800 miles on your own, you know, without any kind of help. So, yeah, don't be too leery, but be, you know, be cautious.
Yeah, see, and that's something that that you also need to take into consideration right there. If you are in an area, if you normally live in a place that don't have very high humidity, and you do travel to a place that does have high humidity, and this kind of thing happens, humidity is a son of a bitch. I'm just going to tell you. It is, dude. It gets so thick. Sometimes we make jokes here in Arkansas during the summertime. It gets so thick here you can cut the humidity with a knife. I mean, it's just the air is just thick and heavy, and you know, if you're not used to that, you're not going to be able to travel your normal distance that you could travel in your area. You're not going to be able to travel that. You also have to understand that the higher north you go, the more elevation you get, the air is thinner.
Yep.
If you're not used to that, you're not going to be able to travel as far. I've got a buddy that's in really good shape, and he goes to these big hunts like up in the mountains, you know, in Colorado, places like that. And he tells me, he's like, dude, he goes, I'm telling you, it's a struggle. It's a struggle for me when you know, I can't go as far or as long as I could, you know, as I can here.
And it's the same thing with the car too. If you take a carbureted bike up to like Pikes Peak, you got to adjust that carburetor. Otherwise, you're going to start stalling out the higher you go. So, you know, even your mechanical, it affects your mechanical too.
Yeah, less oxygen.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that you're going to have to understand. The whole trapping thing. You know, you may not be able to. You may not be able to, you know, run to the convenience store. You know, maybe you get lucky. Maybe you get lucky somewhere along the way and you find a convenience store that hadn't been looted to nothing. And you're able to go up in there, run up in there and grab a few things and run out, you know. It's pretty funny because even in an EMP, people talk about EMPs. Man, EMP hits, everything's done. Well, we don't really know that at that particular time. You know what I'm saying? I mean, general knowledge or whatever may say that, yeah, that's what's going to happen, but you just don't know until that happens right now. You know what I'm saying? That is the kind of thing that you have to understand. Each time there's a different scenario. There's different things going on. There's things that happened this time that didn't happen last time. You know, there's things that didn't happen. You know what I mean? It's
Well, the thing about EMPs that gets people confused, it actually confuses me, is people, you know, say, well, if your car is older than this, it's EMP safe, this and that and the other. All right, let's go back to the Carrington event, okay? the major deal about the Carrington event in the 1800s when it hit, the solar storm, the CME when it hit, which is, it's not an EMP, but it's pretty damn close. It fried the telegraph wires. It supercharged the telegraph wires to where the telegraph operators, they ran their telegraph machines without a battery for the entire day. That's how much juice was in the lines. And it actually melted the lines. There were telegraph operators to where the machines caught on fire and they got burnt. It like fried the entire telegraph system. But here's the thing, there were no computer chips back then, okay? It was just wires. So it was all this electrical juice pumped into these conductors. It was frightening. So if there's a massive Carrington event, CMP, it's going to fry. I don't give a shit how old your car is. If it's got conductive electrical wires in it, they're going to melt. So
yeah, you think your battery would probably melt right to the terminal, you'd think.
Oh, yeah. So why would it not? Why would the same thing not happen in the electromagnetic pulse? Well, it's electromagnet. You might be right, you might be wrong. I don't know, but we've never been hit by a massive EMP, so we really don't know if anything's going to survive or not. Everything might survive. Some things might survive. Some brand new cars, we don't really know. I think it's going to be kind of like a roll of the dice if there's an EMP. You know, I think the grid's going to go down, but are like vehicles and machinery going to work? I think some probably will. Simple systems, the crazy techno systems, like I think every Tesla on the planet's going to die right where it is because it's nothing but like easily fucked up shit. But you know, we don't really know. I mean, we'll know when it happens.
Yeah.
I plan.
Are you still going to go live tonight, Hutch?
Yeah, I'm gonna go live at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
It's 10:30. Oh no,
Central
you're oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm Central.
It's
Yeah, he's
9:39 your time.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, my
9:30.
thing says midnight, but on my StreamYard it's 2 hours off. It won't let me change it. But I got it. It says 10 Central in the title. But yeah, it's
Yeah, that's cool, man. Like I said, we'll kick off and at just before 10 and or right at 10, and that way if people want to come over, I'm gonna come over there and hang out.
Yeah. I mean, I think we pretty much beat this dead horse. We're all figured out 800 miles from home. Well, go slow, go steady.
watch it.
I like to ask this question. I want to start doing this more often. So what, everybody in the chat, what did y'all do to prep today? I mean, anything at all?
Hell yeah.
What'd you do, Ghost?
I finished up building the cage portion of my new 6 cage rabbit condominium. I'm doubling up my rabbitry. I actually spent the last 2 days building my cages by hand, all wire, no wood at all. I don't want to deal with the rabbit piss on the wood. Like my hutch, my rabbitry is going to be all metal, all steel, even the uprights, the roof, all of it's going to be metal. I don't want to deal with that breakdown. So I'm 2 days into the build. I got at least another 2 days on the cages because I'm building drop down nest boxes. I don't want any wood in the cage. So I'm going to have drop down nest boxes, all wire.
Excuse me.
But I got to do that. I got to cut in the doors, and then I got to build the actual building outside. T-rails, a roofing system, all that good stuff. So that's what I did. And I watched the nature water my massive potato plants that are fucking going nuts. Dude,
Yeah, those things are getting ridiculous, man.
Dude, I thought they were gonna die. I bought them at Walmart for Thanksgiving back in November. I found them in the back of the cupboard, like with like 6 inch long. Growing. I just threw them in a pot with some dirt, and they're going nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stopped by the Dollar General. I like to stop by there a couple of times a week because they'll throw some stuff up on a sale shelf, and the canned foods and stuff will be like some of them will still have like a year and a half shelf life. They're selling them out or whatever it is they're doing. I don't know, but most of the stuff there is still good. And I do that. I'll stop by there. I did stop by and ended up, they had a couple of cans of beans, just some pinto beans. And I bought them couple of cans. That's all they had on that I was interested in, that I would eat, that we would eat here. But then they also they had some canned meat, the Hormel or whatever, the beef and stuff like that, and they had that, and that thing has 3 year shelf life on it. And so I bought 2 or 3 of them and stuck them in there and rotated my stock up. And let's see, I think that's about all I did. I didn't have, it rained. I stayed up real late last night because of the storms that were rolling through. And, in case I didn't know how bad the winds were going to be, how bad the storms, and once the storms kind of quit rolling through, I went out and checked on my chicken pen and everything, made sure there wasn't no damage there, and so I did get a few things. I added a few canned beefs and stuff like that to my preps today. That's a couple of more meals, man.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I figure with 2 6-bay rabbit cages, I'm gonna run 2 bucks and 10 does. So I'm looking at probably on the low end 1,200, on the high end 2,000 pounds of meat a year. Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. And I'm counting for like I'm going like extremely low end.
Yeah, rabbits. When it comes to actual meat production, rabbits are pretty much the best way to go. They reproduce fast enough. Compared to a cow or a goat, rabbit's the best thing to have if you want constant food.
Plus, it's stupid healthy. No cholesterol, no fat. I mean, it's like the only meat source on the planet that if that's all you ate, you would fucking die of starvation because you're not getting any fat intake.
Yeah.
Which I did actually today from Amazon. I got a couple of pounds of cheese wax and my cheesecloth. I'm going to put up my butter, my ghee. I got about 18 pounds of butter I'm going to put up for ghee, and I'm going to go ahead and dip my cheese. I'm going to wax my cheese for long-term storage.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. I haven't done it because I love cheese. I got to have cheese, man.
That's something I want to get into, is figuring out. Eventually, we'll get a cow out here. I don't know if we're going to get a dairy cow or not, but we got the Amish, so I can get the milk.
Yeah.
And they've got the butter. So if I can figure out how to do that my damn self, start making my own butter and cheese, that'd be freaking sweet.
Hell yeah. Because I got to have cheese, bro. I got to have cheese and butter. If I'm raising meat rabbits, I got to have ghee. I got to have some form of fat that I'm putting in there when I'm cooking it to keep it, where it can actually function as, Stuart W. Yeah, Ghost, do I make ghee? I actually just said that. Yeah, I'm making ghee. I got my the stuff for that, and pressure cooked butter. Yeah, I'm actually gonna do a video on all that here within the next week or two.
Oh, I forgot. I did forget about this. One of the things I did today was I took the gas cans I got and poured them into my vehicles, and went and got fresh gas in them, and put some of that Stay Built in there with them. And so I've got good fresh gas in all my cans today. So
I literally did nothing today but clean the house. I moved half my fire garden yesterday and got that set up, and that kicked my ass, man. So I was just lazy as hell all day today. Did some editing.
Oh, so wait a minute. So the greenhouse video, you barefooted, that wasn't filmed today?
That was last. What is today?
Today's
Tuesday. Tuesday.
Yeah, today's Tuesday.
That was Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, that was like the best use of golf clubs I've ever seen, by the way.
I was going to do a little thing on that. I was going to say, because I got those for free. We just hit up a yard sale, and they were like, here, do you want them? And they literally had like 6 bags full of clubs. And we were like, hell yeah, we'll take that.
Oh, yeah.
What you're going to do is take a hammer to the round. If you got the metal golf clubs, if you just bend the roundness at the end, swing it back and forth, pop that head off, throw it in the scrap pile, boom. You got a metal.
I'm like, he's driving golf clubs in the ground to hold it. I'm like, that's fucking smart. They're not going to rot. They're not going to go anywhere for a long, long time. Yeah. They'll be there longer than the wood.
Yeah. They're cheap as hell. Go to Goodwill, make a deal on them. Take 20 of them up there and be like, hey, I'll give you $5 for them, It's easy as hell.
I don't know what golf wax is, Appalachian Prepper. I just ordered cheese wax off of Amazon. It was dirt cheap. I mean, it wasn't very expensive at all.
I've been the other day I had a thought pop into my head because I've got a whole bunch of cages out here. And I was like, if I catch wild rabbits and set up a community, would that work the same as if I had domesticated rabbits?
Yeah, but they're not going to produce as much meat. They're smaller. Because like the 3 big meat rabbits that are done now are the California Cross, the New Zealand, and Silver Fox and Rex. Those are the best ones. They were bred for, like the California Cross and the New Zealand, they were bred to get like a lot of meat to bone ratio. That's where everybody does those. But like just catching cottontails and doing them, you can. It's just you're not going to get nowhere you would doing like a New Zealand or a California Cross or something like that.
See, the biggest problem I got is the colors, though. I can't have white rabbits out here because it just brings in all the different colors.
Yeah, I've got one white rabbit, and we'll see how she breeds. But I'm breeding her to a New Zealand brown, and then I'm gonna cross her up with a silver fox and try to get some color because the whole white with the pink eyes kind of freaks me out. Because what I plan on doing, I'm going to breed them for 18 months to 2 years. My females and males, 18 months to 2 years. Once they do their time, I'm turning them loose. Like on the back half of my property, I'm going to fence it in, hardwood cloth. And because they're basically domesticated because I play with them every day. So I'm not going to turn them loose in the wild. But they're going to be fenced in, like in a natural wooded area where everything they need is there. I'm going to retire them there and let them just run around, do whatever the hell they want to do. If they want to keep breeding, I'll snatch up some babies and that way I can keep getting new genes in the pool and keep the gene pool fresh. But I'm gonna breed them for the meat. But my breeders, I don't know. I'm just like, you know what? If you're gonna put that kind of work in to feed me, I'm gonna cut your fucking ass loose. You got paroled. I'll either give you away as a pet, you know what I mean? Just like a respect thing. I'm gonna give you away as a pet, or something, or I'm just gonna turn you loose in the backyard. But it's gonna be fenced in, so I make sure no predators get to you, and I can still throw you some food every now and then if you need to. And if you still make babies, I'll snatch up 1 or 2 and I'll put them into the system.
Right. Yeah, I've got luckily all 3 of my chickens are laying eggs, all 3 of my hens, and then my babies that I got, my 6 babies, man, they're getting big quick. They're eating like crazy, dude. And I'm feeding them while I can afford it right now, I'm feeding them the good stuff, man, to really get them good and healthy and keeping them. And man, it won't be much longer, dude. They're gonna be starting laying for me too. I've got a bunch of eggs in there. I've got a couple of people I'm hitting up to sell some eggs. And because man, when you don't eat eggs for a week and you're getting 3 a day, dude, they add up fast. What I'm saying? And, if you don't eat eggs every single day, man, they add up, So that's something I'm tomorrow, since my cousin had called, they got his power back on, so I don't have to make that trip. So tomorrow I should be able to go get my water barrels for my rain catchment system. And then I'm also going to go try to find some of that hydrated lime. That I'm going to look it up in the morning exactly what I need to get, and then I'm going to go try to get some tomorrow. And I'm going to see about water bathing some eggs and see how it works out, write the date on it and everything and see how they work out.
Well, hey, fellas, I got to go real quick. So appreciate you having me on. You guys are the shit.
I dropped your link up there. That's Hutch's link. Is Just Josh coming on there? Or?
Yeah, it's supposed to be me, Just Josh, and Tribe tonight, and we're going to talk about something that I haven't heard anybody talk about yet. We might go a little imaginative, but we'll see how it goes.
I love Just Josh, man. That dude trips me out, man. Yeah. He gets jacked up, bro. He gets jacked up. He's all whoo.
The excitement level is way, way high.
All right.
Yeah.
But cool. I'll be going live here at 10, maybe 5 after, something like that. I got to run and get everything situated. But excellent show, guys, man.
Thank you over there, brother.
Thank you. Thank you for the scenario, brother. We'll see you over there, okay? But yeah, man, that's cool. Y'all, everybody, if y'all want to go over there, we're going to cut off here by 10. And if y'all want to go over there and hang out with Hutch, for a little while, if you're not ready to go to bed, sounds like they've got a pretty interesting thing coming up, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
He said that it's something that he ain't been hearing people talk about. That's freaking awesome. These are the kind of things we need to be looking for. We always enjoy everybody in the chat. You guys make us think, and that's what I like. And we try to make y'all think, and we come up with some scenarios, some things that we think about. When somebody gives us a scenario and we're like, yeah, man, this is the way I would do it, and then somebody says something in the chat, and it's like, man, that's a whole nother way to think about that, man. Now that I think about that, and this is great, man. This is what we want. This is why we're doing this. And so Lady Hammer says, worked outside in the garden and yard and read up on canning. Awesome.
Good job, Lady.
Awesome.
Thank you, Lily.
Very good.
Appreciate that, Lily.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, Friday night we're going to be on Ghost Channel, and it will be on Shit Hits the Fan Gardening. And
Doomsday
I have not
garden. Into the world garden. We're all going to die, but we're going to die fat and happy because we're going to have food in the garden. It's going to be a great show.
Heck yeah, man. That sounds freaking awesome, dude. I can't wait. This is some awesome stuff. These guys and gals that are sending in these scenarios and everything, just freaking awesome.
Keep sending them in. Get in the drawing. See if you can win.
I think Saturday night, I haven't mentioned it yet, but I think Saturday night what we're going to do on my show with Ghost for the prep rally is I think we're going to talk about bugging out or staying at home and what's the options, what's the different things that comes of that, the reason, when might be the appropriate time to bug out, what to look for, maybe you just want to just die where you're at, if that's what comes about, you know what I'm saying? So I think it would be I think that would be a really good way to. I think it would give us a whole lot of scenarios to talk about. You know what I'm saying? The different things of different ways. And by the way, Appalachian Prepper, we love you too. We love all of you guys. I mean, we really do.
Definitely.
Without I have loads of shade.
I will, because I have loads of shade. That's one of my points in the I will cover that Friday. I promise you, Stephanie.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Without you guys in the chat, without you guys coming and watching us, we're just two old guys. Ooh, there goes the wind. Without you guys, I mean, we're just two old guys just sitting there talking crap to each other.
Yeah.
And so we sure just, man, all of a sudden the wind started blowing. Then I heard a vehicle, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? Must have been a must have been a Ford, man. All that horsepower coming out of that exhaust, man, made my
Yeah.
made my made
Yeah.
my garage door shake.
Yeah. That's what it was. It wasn't that Chevy blowing by creating a vacuum.
No, it broke down at the bottom of the hill. I think the Ford was pulling it up the hill just now. No, hey, everybody, guys, I'm telling you, come check out the deal Friday night with the gardening deal. That's going to be an awesome show. And then Saturday night, like I said, I think we're going to talk about the difference of bugging out and staying at home, and the different ways that we need to prepare if we are going to stay at home and stick it out, or if we're going to bug out, and the different things that you're going to need to do, and if you plan on staying home as long as you can, then maybe you're going to need to bug out. We're going to talk about that too. So guys, thank y'all so much. I'm going to go ahead and end this and give everybody a chance to either go to bed, or maybe you want to go and watch Hutch for a little bit.
Good night,
and
y'all.
Gives everybody a chance to go take a goat break, and get you some popcorn or whatever, or get you a drink. And thank y'all so much again, everybody. And we will see y'all Friday night.
See you Friday.
Remember, when you prepare your mind properly, everything else will start to fall into place. I promise you. Backwoods out.